To the podcast. First time having a guest on. This is a new setup, a new everything. So let me know if everybody can hear everything and I didn't mess up any buttons or something. But everybody's saying hi. So stuff.
I thought you forgot my name. You were like, "This is," and they're like, "So it's a great day. We're having a good time."
Yeah. This is my friend Jack Conway. He's a digital producer by trade. That's how we met. Which I looked it up. It's been 10 years.
Good God, is that true?
Mm-hmm. It's been 10 years. Yeah.
You were 11.
Gross. Yeah.
11 years old. I was talking to a little boy.
11. I played Diablo 2 in an internet cafe.
Good God.
That is my age. Thank you very much.
Good God. Hi, everyone. I am Jack. I'm a digital producer. I know Morgan because we've worked adjacent in many places and with each other in many places, but a lot of like pop culture-y things. Like I worked at like Machinima and Maker and all those places where we made like goofy videos for teenage boys.
Yeah, back before it was cool or a legitimate career path.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh God.
People don't realize how not cool it was for the vast majority of our lives.
I don't think I've ever had a relative that's understood what I do for a living ever. Since I moved to Los Angeles. Because they're like, "Oh, you're in Hollywood." I'm like, technically as a physical place, yes.
Yeah. Well, it went from having to explain what YouTube was to now it's having to explain what like TikTok is.
Oh, yeah.
And God knows what's going to happen next.
Well, and also all your relatives, they only know that TikTok is the thing that the news tells them is bad.
Sure.
So it's a little tricky to like get them into it.
Yeah. And the meta of it now of making it like,
hey, buddy.
Like leaning into that joke of like, yeah, this is all Chinese propaganda. Like the glycine factory memes are so goddamn good. Oh, they're so good. So fucking good.
Yeah, I think, and also I feel more and more, and it's probably always been like this, but as we get more and more like cool platformers like that, that separation between generations becomes more staunch, which is so silly. Mm-hmm. I saw something, I don't know how far I can go into this, but like I saw someone post something the other day and it was like, I got tagged on Facebook and I'm like, Facebook gay?
Gross.
Facebook gay? It like came up on my email and I'm like, oh wow, why am I getting tagged? What's going on? And someone was like,
it's like, who died? What relative?
Exactly that. I was like, yeah, exactly. What aunt has passed away? Why am I getting tagged on Facebook? And someone tagged, they were basically trying to cancel someone and they're like, this person, da da da, and they had like no real details. And they're just like, they're a bad person. And then someone goes, I still have 40 mutuals with them. And I had this flashback to like what a thing that was. It's just like, this person's bad and I can't believe I have mutuals. And then you would then sit and refresh your Facebook to see that number go down.
Well, now people do that with Twitter too. It'd be like, see a lot of people still following them.
Yes. That's especially
and like tagging everybody who still follows them. And be like, are you endorsing this?
They're like aghast. They're like, I can't believe there's still mutuals on there. And I'm like, it's Facebook, dude. No, I'm probably mutuals with actual monsters on here. I haven't been here in years, dude. I don't know. Yeah,
like, it's not like why are you still following them? Be like, why are you looking? Why are you on the platform? This is a corpse.
It was such a weird flashback of like, I have mutuals with them, and I was like, and you would get that stress of like, oh, I better make sure I'm not one of them. Oh no, I better get rid of them fast. They're checking on me. Anyway, the history of the internet. It's always been bad.
It's always been bad.
Getting that hump. There it is.
Yeah, that's been bad. That's bad.
I was complimenting Giuseppe for just trying to latch on, but not getting humpy. But now,
well, he needs to be fixed. His sister just got fixed, and so now I get to threaten him, and be like, "You're next if you don't fucking calm down."
Well, now we've got evidence.
Yeah.
You know what? Show it back to him, and maybe the shame will just be like, "Look, we had a guest, and you were just like,
look how you behaved." Tragic.
No, I mean, I know your chat already knows the names of all the pets, but like I got Giuseppe.
That's Francesca.
And
that's Valentina.
We may see Valentina in a moment. Valentina's in a beautiful cow top.
Yeah, a cow surgical gown, if you will. Yes. Which she hates. She hates it so much.
Oh, what was her? Did she have a surgery recently?
She just got fixed. Yeah.
Oh, she's just. Oh,
she just got fixed. He's next.
Do you know what, Morgan?
What do I know?
I made assumptions. When you said that his sister had been fixed, I thought of a dog.
Oh, you fool.
And that's my fault. That's specious to me.
This is a modern family.
I apologize.
What year is this?
It's a generations thing. See? This is Morgan keeps me honest.
Disgusting.
Thank you.
Shameful. It's a learning stream.
How's everybody doing today?
Oh, I wanted to ask, what are you watching now?
Oh God, great question. You know what? Recently, like during pandemic, everyone got to play Animal Crossing but me. And I was in esports, so like I had like insane like 80-hour weeks for like 2 years.
Yeah, Animal Crossing is the thing you exclusively do if you have nothing else going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, but mind you, I had like fully employed friends, but it was pandemic, so they were still getting paid, but there was just nothing to do, and they were in entertainment, so they just played Animal Crossing. I was very happy for them. I just couldn't do it.
So you're playing Animal Crossing now?
No, that's where that story should have gone. But I missed a lot of like shows for like 2 to 3 years in movies. I just couldn't like during the whole like pandemic era of like when people were catching up and finishing their Netflix. I didn't. So I'm catching up on everything now. But I'm just now watching Poker Face, which was Rian Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize it's Natasha Lyonne, I believe, and I didn't realize it's just Columbo, which I mean, she sounds like Columbo anyway, so it just works.
Yeah,
but it's like, and she literally says like,
I had no idea.
One more question though, and it's literally just she has her own backstory. She's on the run, but she's basically Columbo. I will admit it's not fully hooking me yet. I'm only like 4 or 5 episodes in, but the all-star cast is amazing. I just finished. I mean, obviously everyone's watching X-Men '97. I'm too behind. Don't spoil, please. Don't spoil.
I haven't tried that yet. I know I would love it though.
You will love it.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
not
on
optional.
Poker Face thing, really quick. I wish I could ask them and be like, was that the pitch? Was it female Columbo?
just Columbo, yeah.
Because like, was that the pitch? Like when you walked into the
had to
meeting,
have been.
did you just say that?
And they just played a clip.
That would
of
be
her.
enough. You'd be like, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I could sell that very easily.
And it's similar. You know what? I just learned a phrase last year from a YouTube channel called Pushing Up Roses, and she literally does most of her.
Don't mind me. I just realized the logo went dim on the thing.
Oh, okay. I thought it's because I said another YouTube channel. I thought I got. You're like, we don't talk.
Oh, we're
about
done
other
here. Yeah, we're
creators.
done. You're leaving
No other
now.
creators
Yeah, how dare
mentioned,
you?
please. No, Pushing Up Roses does. She mostly does Murder She Wrote content, which is I never thought would be my jam, but she's so funny and she'll just go deep dives into Murder She Wrote episodes and Are You Afraid of the Dark? But she taught me a phrase which is. There a lot of shows were whodunits, so you'd watch the show like Law and Order or whatever, and you're like, oh, I wonder how that happened. Columbo is a win catch 'em, so you know who did.
Oh.
You're waiting to see when they're going to get caught. I just learned that phrase recently.
It's like suspense versus mystery.
Yes, and Rian Johnson's, one would say that both of his Knives Out movies are win catch-ems. Like, you know pretty much in the beginning what's going on, and then you just kind of find out, or you know they're dead and kind of who killed them, and then you kind of find out how that happened. So that series is similar. I'm heavily promoting a series I'm not that into, but it is interesting.
It's the thing, you can't watch it and not have thoughts about it. But X-Men '97, I desperately want to watch. I
love it so much.
thrilled that I think we're close to crop tops on men being like totally fine.
We're almost there. And
I want this to be the summer of male crop tops.
I know.
I'm on a diet. I'm prepping.
I know you've seen the Gambit shot from the first episode of the new one, which is straight from the comics, by the way. Jim Lee absolutely drew that full scene, the basketball scene. And then Babs Tarr, who's an amazing artist and fan artist, she has officially done the version where it just says slut. It's so good. Highly recommend it. Go look that up. Babs Tarr, Gambit. And then I saw someone made t-shirts of that too. You can buy the crop top.
Amazing.
Yeah, like I said, I'm catching up a lot. I just finished Pen 15 finally, which is a series I really loved. Everyone should see. Which then I watched that because I just finished Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I can't recommend enough. That's on
Really?
Amazon, I think. Oh my god, it's so good. It's not for everyone. And
I wasn't sure.
yeah, no, I agree. Again, casting is insane. People just show up. You're like, wait, you're here now? And I will say this.
Donald Glover called in some favors.
Yes. I feel like, people have certain things about movies are like, I need to know if an animal gets hurt. Obviously, I'm one of those people like, if an animal's going to get hurt, tell me.
Does the dog die?
Yeah, and I'm probably not going to see the movie, but there's a warning that rarely happens of if it's about couples and like they're having a hard time. Sometimes if you're in a relationship, maybe you shouldn't watch a show. Now, I can genuinely say that was not my case in this with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It actually is, there's like scenes where
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like a fake married couple. They have to go to like counseling and stuff, and so it genuinely led to my wife and I having like really good conversations afterwards. But I'll say that there was a person I was going to recommend it to, and I was like, you should. No, maybe not right now.
Yeah.
It's like
Maybe in a few months once it's all crashes and burns.
We chatted recently and like, wait it out a little bit. Yeah, I feel like that's a good warning of like, will you get in a fight with a significant other based on the content of that show?
How many episodes can you make?
That should be a thing at the top.
What your health of the relationship is. Yeah. Have you started watching the Fallout series yet?
I've not. I know it was like 2 days ago.
So I don't give a shit about Fallout, despite me being a Bethesda fan through and through.
See, I'm a huge like Bioshock. I mean, you and I are big gamers. Like but also we're not just gamers. We're giant freaking nerds that get attached to an IP and like that's our lives.
Vocational nerds.
Yes. That is the one that somehow I just never got fully into is Fallout, and I know I scorn me. I deserve it. I know I have so many friends that love Fallout, but for me, this one, it doesn't matter if it hits or misses. Like I'm in. I'm gonna check it out. But
Yeah, it's so rare that I watch something and immediately it just clicks. I'm like, oh, this is solid. Like maybe 5 minutes into it, I'm like, this feels right.
Rare, right?
The look of it, the pacing, the casting, the amount of just the right amount of backstory, the right kind of opening scene. I'm like, they nailed so much of this. One other significant time is I remember 15 minutes into No Country for Old Men. I'm like, this is gonna win Best Picture.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, period. Like just the pacing is it's just right. You can feel it. And this, you just feel like this is right. They did this right.
that's wonderful. I saw a really cool video yesterday of someone in the. Oh God, just skewer me. The armor, I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called. If it's a different game, I could tell you, but the giant armor.
Oh yeah.
And the guy in the suit.
You guys know.
What's the big? It's on all the promos. But the guy in the armor. Is moving. It's off camera, or rather, they're cut. It's behind the scenes, and he's moving so flawlessly. It's like really light. It's like super light armor. So I'm sure there's CG elements that are added, but he's just like dancing in it, and it's just so natural. And you never see that. It's just like, yeah, I've been in this for 4 hours, but I'm having a great time. You know, like that impressed me right off the bat that they had just made an actual functional like mech suit, basically, that a guy can just like very solidly move in and not have to use as much CG. I thought that was cool.
Well, I know that they've talked about like how good the CG is.
Yeah.
So I wonder. I mean, nowadays it's like they'll do something that's semi-physical or not physical, and then augment it. Like, I mean, the Iron Man suit's like half and half, basically.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I wonder how much. I'd love to see a VFX breakdown for this.
Well,
show.
I mean, Walton Goggins doesn't have a nose in the whole series, right? So I mean, there's.
But I mean, we've had that since Voldemort. You know, we've had.
That's true. That's true.
Sorry, I said
We've had no nose technology.
Power armor. Thank you. It's called power armor.
Oh, that's
Thank
so
you.
easy.
You're
Why didn't I come up with that?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep adjusting things as this is like a new time of me doing it in this capacity. I'm like adjusting stuff.
What is it, friend? Just up.
Cat is so chill. Oh yeah, all the cats are so chill. Everybody's chill.
Everybody's chill.
It's a chill
It's a
household.
chill environment. I brought notes.
Brought notes. Yeah, we've got a few topics. The way we typically do this is just going through some topics. The main thing that happened this week was CinemaCon. If you don't know what CinemaCon was, it's the official convention of the National Association of Theater Owners, which basically it's like Comic-Con for people for like AMC.
Yes.
And Cinemark. It's where they go to Vegas to Caesar's Palace to where Adele does her residency, and all the studios get up and present for a theater full of people who own theater chains, and they say, this is all the cool stuff we have coming up for you guys.
Yeah.
That's essentially it. And they bring out like, here's a trailer, here's an exclusive scene, and then here's like our star. That's basically how it goes. It's a little bit of a blowjob fest for the theater owners, frankly.
I saw a clip last night. It was just on YouTube, and it was like Local News Vegas talking about it.
Yeah,
Which, I mean,
it's a big Vegas event because so many celebrities come in for it.
Yeah,
so then you can walk around Caesar's Palace and you're like, oh, there's like huge stars walking around.
That's why it was that was kind of the interesting hook for me, is that we see. I mean, like we live, it's Hollywood nonsense all day, every day. So our news is just like, yeah, some famous person did something today. I don't know. But but like coming from, I've come from Colorado. Like if one semi-famous person shows up anywhere, it's the news. So it's interesting just to see something as close as Vegas, where they're just like, it's a huge convention that's going on this weekend, and there's gonna be people here. Like it was just the hype.
Might also be one of those things like, please keep doing it here.
Yeah,
because we will keep promoting it as an industry.
Yeah, I assume that Vegas has already seen everything, but like they seemed really excited about it.
Well, and also Vegas is, a lot of people have invested a lot of money or are in the process of investing a lot of money to try to make it a new Hollywood. Mark Wahlberg was trying to do that. He was investing a lot of money. I think he ended up pulling out of it, but somebody else is building or maybe it is still him and his company, but they're building a state-of-the-art big studio out there.
Oh.
In order to make
a really
new
big sphere that costs too much money to run every day.
That's damn thing.
By the way, everyone, if you go online right now, there's been a job opening for 2 months. You can be the artistic director of the Sphere in Las Vegas.
Whatever that means.
Job opening has been up for 2 months. No one's taken it. It could be yours. You could run the Sphere. I just thought that was hilarious. I told all my friends, like, please apply. One of us has to run the Sphere. What a gig.
Yeah, it'd be a great gig. It'd be a great gig.
Sorry,
like which emojis are you putting on this thing today?
That thing costs so much. Oh man, there's another YouTuber, Eddie Burback, did a video about going to the Sphere and watching a movie there, and just how much money it costs just to like show up, watch that like 20-minute movie by
Darren Aronofsky.
and just like walk around and see a concert there. I think you saw U2 there, and the costs are insane. Just to like watch that movie for 2 people, it's like $140. It's like a $20
Yeah, it's
movie.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's supposed to be like an experience or whatever.
Yeah.
But still, it's essentially you're watching a movie.
I need a lot more.
I was like, don't they have? It's like I'm pretty sure I've done that at a science center where it's been like a dome experience.
and it's just soared over California. Yeah. It's just
the only I like the general concept of it because it's not the Sphere, it's the Madison Square Garden Sphere. It's that company, because most big venues where a U2 would be performing, it's a football stadium, it's a soccer arena.
Yeah.
So those are all venues that sound like garbage, like SoFi. SoFi here, the Rams or Chargers Stadium, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
It's all metal, and like the Rolling Stones playing, and it sounds garbage.
Really?
Because it's all metal.
Yeah.
It's like the worst thing for. I mean, we're in a concrete loft right now. It's like you can. There's acoustically sound environments, and then there's bad environments for it.
Yeah.
So stadiums are bad environments for that. So they wanted to create something that is meant for concerts specifically, and that's why it's supposed to sound really good. It's also a great visual experience, but the fact that it's built to be acoustically perfect for music is a whole other thing in and of itself.
That is really cool.
They don't really market it as such because obviously the visuals are the thing.
Right.
But it is nice to have a place that's like, it sounds nice. Like if you saw, that's why I think there's a lot of small venues like in the Midwest or wherever, where it's like, this is a movie theater in a movie theater, like with like a 5-screen Cineplex.
Yeah.
And they broke down some walls and made it into a small concert venue.
Right.
It's like, it has the acoustic padding.
Sure.
That makes a lot of sense. Why not?
Yeah. Do you know, I told you I'm from Colorado originally. One of my first concerts was at like Red Rocks. So I just thought that's what concerts were. Like I just grew up just like, oh, you just go to like the most amazing concert venue in the world that's just made of natural rock and the sound is perfection.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
And then like I moved to California where everything's better, right? And I was like, these concerts suck. What's so terrible about it? I had no idea. I had no idea how spoiled I was with what I had for concerts. I just thought that's what they were all like. Oh, yeah, go outside, bunch of rocks. It's great.
But yeah, the theater owners, which nowadays I don't know. How often do you go to the theater? Because I really don't go very often.
I just went to see Dune 2 because I knew there was no world where I wasn't going to see
It's like
Dune
if it's not an IMAX
in a
thing,
theater. Yeah, I
almost wish IMAX would just open their own theaters, because it's like it's a plus up that they license through AMC or whatever. But like, imagine if they just bought the Cinedome in LA and it was just that.
I agree with you. And supposedly, I don't know if this is true or not, supposedly there's only a few like real IMAX theaters.
Yeah,
right? Like,
there's different classes, and I think people who wear A24 caps on TikTok will tell you all about that.
Well, but like only one of the only like real ones is at Universal City Walk here in Universal Studios. But personal gripe, it's one of the only theaters, they have a bar upstairs. You can't take drinks into the IMAX theater. You can take them into the 3 other theaters right next to it. I don't
really
like. I would understand it was like the.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like shake your chair, you know. Like I understand if you can't take a drink in there, but you can take a Coke in IMAX, but you cannot take a. I don't understand.
See, here's my thing. I don't like the Universal IMAX because it's. I know this is very niche LA speak, but it's like.
Oh, sorry.
The stadium seats are super steep.
Yes.
And there's not that many seats.
Yeah.
I prefer the Chinese theater. They did a retrofit on it like 10 years ago or something like that, or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's way bigger a space, so you can have the 70mm IMAX experience, but still be far enough away that it's not like.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I hate, is having to like actually move my head to see stuff.
Well, there's another thing at LA Live where it's like, it's not 4D where it jerks you around, which can be fun, but it's one where there's a screen that goes all the way around you.
Yes.
I thought about seeing Dune there just to see.
It's called like Ice, like an immersive
Yes, it is.
thing.
I think it's called Ice.
We have that one here at the Regal, I think.
I've never done one yet.
Yeah, the one at LA Live, yeah.
I
did it one time, it wasn't working, and it tended to be normal. I was pissed.
Really?
Yeah.
So I guess here, I'll activate your chat for no good reason. I'm just curious if anyone's ever done like a weird, because the 4DX, when that came out, when you could go into the theater and it would like blast water in your face and shake. Have you ever done those?
Yeah, I did it one time.
Oh my God.
I did it for Man of Steel, and I didn't like Man of Steel at the time. I probably wouldn't either if I
No, it wouldn't help it.
But the idea of like, you go see a movie you like in that, fun.
Yeah.
You see a movie you don't like, now that movie is beating the shit out of you. It's like every time there's just like, oh, it's literally just like, it's hitting you with how dumb the movie is.
So I agree on both of the things you said. So I saw Spider-Man Homecoming there, and I love that movie. But the end, when he's like getting the crap beat out of him by the Goblin, by Vulture, you get wrecked. Like, I love that movie, but when he's on the beach, I remember that fight very
you
clearly.
feel the punches.
I was getting wrecked.
That's funny.
I saw Justice League there. We joked that every time Aquaman would come on, they'd probably spray water on you. They did.
Of course,
literally every time you'd get wet. Every time Jason Momoa came on.
Sounds horrible.
So, it was terrible. But and no one even remembers this movie, nor should you. Please don't see this movie. Geostorm was a real movie that existed.
Oh, I know. I did the press tour for that.
Did you seriously?
I interviewed Gerard Butler for that movie. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did he remember being in it? It was one of those movies where they shot a bunch of it and then had to come back. So like they're all in really bad wigs for a bunch of shots because it's like 60 years later. But it was like the concept is that someone hacks weather satellites, and so
I cannot remember the film.
that is literally the concept, is that we've made weather satellites that work so that we can just decide how weather works, and then of course it gets hacked so that it's just like, no, it's gonna hail in the desert, and it's just like the world gets like wrecked by weather.
It's part of the cinematic universe of Roland Emmerich won't stop trying
100%.
to remake
I think it was
disaster
Roland Emmerich.
movies.
I think it was
produced
him,
it.
wasn't
He
Okay.
produced it.
But in 4DX with like wind effects and water effects and shaking you around. Flawless. Geostorm, one of my favorite theater experiences. I took all the right friends.
Oh, you know what I bet would be good for that? The new Tornado sequel.
Twister 2. Twisters.
Twister, yeah.
Absolutely.
Twisters.
I
yeah.
Twisters. I Twisters in 4DX, actually.
I like Twister, the movie, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
That is like the definition of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
When people put that on the poster, it'd be like, it's like a roller coaster of a cinematic experience. Like, no, it actually is.
It really
has
is.
it has like roller coaster elements to it in how like ridiculous the set pieces are. It's a great movie.
It's
fabulous.
It's a time of filmmaking where they remembered that like all the characters need to have a reason to be there. So it's kind of like the Mummy and stuff, where like the bad guys are almost just as interesting, if not more so, where they like really flesh out their
always should
teams.
be. They
Yeah, and
always
they're
should
like,
be.
well, who's that guy? Like you kind of want more backstory, and some of the just rando background people. You're like, this is an actual team of like people that exist. They have a storyline, I think. Yeah, that nowadays it's just like, I'm a bad guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Twister. It was a great ensemble of people, of like weird characters.
It was. Bill Paxton, R.I.P. So anyway, this thing happened in Vegas.
Yes.
Reveals came out. Everything's a sequel. If you like a thing, it's getting a sequel. And if you don't like a thing, it's definitely getting a sequel.
Yep, definitely. 100%,
Everything gets a
yeah.
sequel.
I think the big thing for Disney, like Disney, Lionsgate, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Universal, they all came out and did stuff, and they showed their little clips, and they had their stars there to make the AMC executives feel like they're hot stuff. The big Disney one was Captain America: Brave New World, which is they showed a little footage of it with Sam Wilson, and then Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford, who is now the president. So he gets to play the president again, as he should.
And filling in for, I say filling in, that's not the right way to say it, but William Hurt was Thunderbolt Ross and was fantastic at it, by the way. And also one of the very few carryovers from like all the movies, because like he was, I mean, that was Hulk, which was sort of in the timeline, but
Yeah, that's right. He was in that.
he was
And
just
that
started
technically is. People think of Iron Man as like the beginning of it, but technically speaking,
it is Hulk.
Hulk is, that was the first one.
Yeah, and Thunderbolt, actually, I guess he's kind of the first one to carry over. And then, at the She-Hulk series, we got, what's his name as Abomination. But yeah, I mean, so technically, yeah, anyway. But yeah, and he did a great job of that. He was definitely an undervalued character in that he's just always kind of the background guy. He's like, well, all right. But also, credit where it's due. That's also the first after credit Marvel scene was Thunderbolt Ross talking to Iron Man about making a team. So like that character is pretty iconic as far as the MCU. So if they'd put anyone else in the spot, I think that would have been a really bad idea. But Harrison Ford, who seems
I think you have to get someone who's big enough to be like, yeah, he really just hates.
He never looks like he wants to be there anymore.
Yeah,
but
he's one of those guys who's like, I love doing nothing. I'd like to continue to do that, please. I don't
So
need to
why do we
anything.
keep making him leave his house? He doesn't seem to want to be there. But I think a great choice for Thunderbolt. I think he'll fill in great. Could be very interesting depending on where we go with the storyline. Not to go into any spoilers, but if you're a comic person, Thunderbolt Ross has a pretty standard like storyline from like his introduction in comics up until about 10 years ago, and then you get into like Thunderbolts and stuff, and things get real interesting. So yeah, that could go in different places. I'm curious to see where that'll go.
I haven't loved any. I didn't love Falcon Winter Soldier. I
wanted to more than I did, if that makes sense.
Well, that was also, I mean, it was plagued by the fact that it came out during COVID and the plot was about a virus.
Yes.
And so they had to edit around that.
Yeah.
So it had some issues there, but I think still a lot of the character development didn't hit for me, and that wouldn't have been affected by that kind of plot change.
That was also the first of our like, but the bad guys kind of have a point, which then they did for like 4 more series in the Marvel universe. Like, well, they can't all be better than the heroes. Like, you gotta be an actual bad guy at some point.
If there's one thing, it's like that. Like these are big superhero comics. Like it's supposed to be like, no, it's like the Nazis. Like there should be a hard line.
Very obvious Thanos or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like, no, they all kind of have a point.
Yeah, feel like all right.
There were definitely parts of Falcon Winter Soldier that I really enjoyed. But of all those series, none of them really stuck, frankly, at all to me. Like I remember watching them, all the Marvel TV series. They exist. I know I've seen them. I don't know if I can tell you much about what happened in most of them.
I know, and it's weird that everyone. I mean, now the narrative is that they're floundering. They don't know what to do with all their properties, and it's like, you know what? Like, if we just look at it realistically, they've been batting 100 for like over 10 years.
Yeah.
Then they had to pivot strategy completely into a whole new medium. Really, it is completely different.
Yeah.
It's it's like 10 hours of something, and then arcs for each. Like every scene has an arc, then every act has an arc, then every episode has an arc, then every season has an arc, then the whole series has an arc.
Yeah.
It's like that. What I just described is what they just did over 10 years with movies.
True.
So now it's like they're having to do that for every single property. It's like it's become much more complicated.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's like it's a publicly traded company, and they're not always going to hit it out of the park. And they have fiduciary duties.
Yes, yes.
Some stuff has to come out in Q3.
Yeah.
And so you're going to always be plagued by that. And eventually, I think they are going to get on track. I think Kevin Feige is still, even though people are kind of being like, he's fucking up. He's fucking it up. He's still like probably one of the going to go down in history as the most successful producer of all time, possibly.
A million jillion %. Look, it's gross, but like just the income he's brought in, just the actual amount of money he has brought in the door is more than anyone ever has, especially one single character or one individual. But 100% agree, and it's. Yeah, I think what we see is that we've worked for these kind of people many times in our lives. Where it's like, well, that thing worked. Give me 20 of those. And that happens, and they come out, and you get 28 Ghostbusters movies, and fine. But then it's like the Andors that oh, what's the backstory of Mon Mothma? I don't care. Make it. No one's gonna watch it. And then it's like, what? This is the best thing you made. This is the best Star Wars thing you've made. Wait, look at that. Like, it's the ones that sneak under. I would even say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would even say The Mandalorian, when it first came out, was definitely like a wild card of like, well, no one wants this because it's not that. Like, it's not Boba Fett. Then why are we doing this? And then it's like, oh wait, but this is great. And then they're like, well, now make season 2 just all Star Wars references. Like, oh, never mind, we're back.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, poisons.
Yeah, when they don't put the weight of an entire like franchise on it, and they go, you can live in the world, but you don't have to do the thing again.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they're now going into it being like, okay, we need this massive hit. Whereas nobody expected Iron Man to be a huge hit at the time. That he's kind of a B character. Robert Downey Jr. was not a super bankable star at the time.
At all.
That was he was resurrected for that. Yeah, opposite of it. They improv half the fucking thing because the script was meh.
Yeah.
Which has been well documented at this point.
Isn't that crazy?
So it's like it happened by accident, essentially, or just like. Well, I want to back up and just say, for people who don't work in creative arts in any way, the fact that any movie even gets made is almost a miracle. It is so difficult, and the fact that there are any good movies at all is kind of mental. Because it's like this, like if the script isn't perfect, then it's a failure. If the casting isn't right, then maybe that's what failed. Like every time I see a good movie, and then what everyone thought was supposed to be like a great movie ended up being bad, I'm like, oh, that's the difference. It's just maybe one of those things could have been different on either one of those, and the places would have been swapped in history. Yeah. Because it's like if Robert Downey Jr., if they hadn't gotten him, and it was somebody else they'd done, Sam Rockwell instead.
Or
maybe it wouldn't have quite hit, or if it was Tom Cruise, maybe it wouldn't have resonated quite right, and then it wouldn't have been the hit that was then. Okay, now we can build around this, and it's going to work now, because it's like they don't have that one thing to build around right now. They're still throwing darts.
Absolutely.
Which is what you have to do essentially, because what do? You have these vestigial characters. Thor is the only one that would make sense to do, but those movies have never been good.
Ragnarok.
Well, Ragnarok, yeah, but still.
I will live and die by Ragnarok.
It was great, but it was only because how bad the other ones were, and they all looked at each other like, this is so boring.
And that's exactly the point.
We're so bored with Thor. What
Ragnarok was the throwaway movie. They were like, look, we can't make any more Thors that are any good, but like we need to make another Thor, so I guess do whatever. Give it to this weirdo.
Like,
let's take a Waititi, try it, I guess. I don't know. And then made probably one of the best MCU movies, if you ask me. Like,
it's fabulous.
If you're like, you get to watch an MCU movie again, for me, it's either going to be Iron Man 1, which is... By the way, I worked for the prop house that sold all the Iron Man 1 stuff, so I've probably watched that movie over 200 times, and I would still watch it again, and I still find new things in it every time.
Still great.
And Thor Ragnarok, which I could just watch anytime. It's just delightful.
People, need to really, really give more respect to Jeff Bridges in Iron Man.
Jeff Bridges.
It's like you watch him in like the last 30 movies he's done, and it's like, oh, that's Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
But then you watch him in Iron Man, and you're like, Jeff, who is that guy?
Well, especially, I mean, it probably it probably helped his evil character that, as we've seen in all the interviews, is that he doesn't improv like they all did. So when Robert Downey Jr. is like, we're just gonna rewrite the scene, he was like, what? It's like, no, I need a script, man. So like that probably a lot of it's like, Tony, where were you? It's probably very realistic. I'm sure he called him Robert in a few shots. But yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, most of our favorite films have nightmare backstories or like one lucky hit, or the director is just the monster. Like, that's what sucks is a lot of the greatest films, like, people suffered for those things. I hate that. I wish that there were stories.
The second you say that, it's like, oh yeah, James Cameron.
Yes, James Cameron, and I mean Kubrick, and like there's so many great directors who are also just
everybody's
monsters.
You just tell them, it's like, okay, you know what you need to do? You need to shut the fuck up.
Yes.
I don't have time for whatever you're about to say.
But then, I mean, to that end, like, I just gave an example. Like, it's not going to be like to stand the full test of time. But I think Thor Ragnarok is a very, very good and watchable movie with a great storyline. They all had a great time. No one was a jerk. Everyone was cool. No one hated each other afterwards. And then they made a really mid movie after that with most of the same people. But
it was a fun action comedy. And again, it's like when the stakes aren't there and they're just like, whatever. It cannot do worse than Thor Dark World.
The one no one remembers.
Fuck it is.
Which I love that the Russo brothers punished us. They're like, turns out that's going to be the most important movie. Like, it just really went hard on it. They're like, oh, no one likes this movie. All of Endgame is based on it.
Yeah.
Take it.
Hope you didn't skip that one.
Well, surprising no one, you and I sat down and just started talking about MCU for like 3 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Sorry, I know that there was more on track.
I don't know what the future of the MCU is. I'll say that. I don't know. I really hope that Star Wars keeps being all right. I have a lot of hope for some of their upcoming stuff. Mm-hmm. But
we're in an interesting place.
As long as Bill Burr's in more Mandalorian.
I agree. He's in there because he hates Star Wars.
I think about that like once a week.
I literally have the action figure of him.
Bill Burr has one of the best arcs.
I bought the toy of him because I like him so much. And he's in because Favreau is like, you have to be on the show. And he's like, I hate Star Wars. He goes, I know. That's why you have to be this guy. His wife was like in the meeting. She's like kicking him. Yes. Like, all right, final day. Yeah. It's like, no, that's why you got to be this guy because he hates Star Wars.
He got there. He's like, this is a Western. Oh.
Yeah. And one could say in the original, the first film, Han Solo hates Star Wars. Like, that's the whole point of his characters, that they're all like, oh, mystic swords. And he's just like, dude, I am not here for any of that. And that's a great character.
Well, and I think that's why like Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars anything.
Okay.
Like Empire, Rogue One. Like, those are my two favorite. Honestly, I fucking love Rogue One.
So wait, when I said Andor, you didn't do anything. What are your thoughts here?
I like Andor a lot. Okay. It's great, but I'm getting to Andor though. I'm getting to Andor. So that whole film was done by, what's his face? I forget the director's name.
It was two guys though. Wasn't it someone and then someone
that's what I'm getting at. It was kind of saved in the end.
Yeah.
Like they were like, this needs to be fixed, and they gave it to Tony Gilroy.
Yeah.
To kind of fix it. And I think one of the reasons that was so good, and I think that there's a lot to take away from this for why Andor was so good too, is Tony Gilroy doesn't give a shit about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, none of this is precious to me. I'm going to make this a good movie.
Yeah.
So that's why I think he was able to fix it and make it pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then they gave him Andor, and he's like, well, I still don't give a shit about Star Wars. So I'm just going to make a good show. Yeah. And again, none of this is precious to me. And he made a really good show.
I agree.
And so it's like, it is again, like these people who are too precious with it. I think you need to be able to, like, we have enough bad Star Wars that we can just start.
We do. There's so much.
Do something new with it.
I had this conversation recently. A lot of my friends have kids now, and their kids are getting to the age where they're taking in media that's different. Not just Netflix kid shows. Mm-hmm. And I think the generation of you have to watch a thing is almost just gone. Like there was like.
You mean like must-watch TV and that kind of?
Yeah, or just like like an adult in your life would be like, well, I mean, like you've seen like Casablanca, like maybe that's a bad example, but Star Wars is a good example. Like for most of our lives, it's like, well, you've seen Star Wars, right? And it would, like if you said no, it'd be like, what? How? But now, if like a Gen Alpha, I think was like, if I was like, hey, you should watch Star Wars, the reply is like, which one? There's like 6,000 of them. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, never mind,
There's too much stuff for everybody to consume everything, and that was always the case. I remember Edgar Wright, he did an interesting thing years ago at the New Beverly at Tarantino's Theater, because he realized, it's like, everybody has gaps in their movie knowledge. Mm-hmm. Like even hardcore filmmakers, the best ones. So we went to all his director friends and said, what is something that you would recommend that you think I haven't seen? And then he put on like a film festival of just showing all those in 35.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I was like, because it's like, and I liked having that of like, yeah, even I or Tarantino or maybe even Spielberg. It's like everybody has gaps in their movie knowledge, their pop culture knowledge, and that's why I never try to do the like, oh my god, you haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Be like, I have to like do laundry. It's like I can't fucking just watch everything. Jesus Christ.
I went to an art school and I was in theater and then some film. And many years later in my life, I called my college roommate and I was like, hey man, I just saw Citizen Kane. It's so good.
It's so good.
I can't tell anyone that I just saw that, but dude, can I talk about Citizen Kane for a minute? He's like, yeah, dude, let's talk about Citizen Kane for a little bit. I'm
so
like,
good.
No, but it's really good. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of known as the best movie ever. I'm like, no, but it really is good.
Well, and it's one of those things is he was so young, so it was like you didn't know the rules of filmmaking, so he just kind of did it, and it ended up being great. My favorite thing in Citizen Kane is that there's like 3/4 of the way through it, there's just like a full shot of a bird, like a cockatoo or whatever, like comes full screen and squawks. Do you know why that exists?
I don't.
He was like, I figure by this point in the movie, everyone would be falling asleep.
For the story,
So he just did this loud ass,
woke him up.
just full screen bird squawking. It's like, just to wake everybody up.
That's absolutely amazing.
And that's a good point. There's a lot of psychology that goes into how you edit a movie because basically human attention, if you're not ADHD or on meds, then it's every 20 minutes you basically space out. Every 20 minutes is standard. So about every 20 minutes, if you watch a movie, a lot of them, they'll just be like, that's when somebody's walking around looking or something, or like a flashlight kind of look around. There'll be something that's not totally dialogue and you can just kind of space out.
It is weird that even in like when I saw Dune 2 recently, you know when you can go pee. Like we know in movies now when someone's gonna talk for a little bit, and you can probably bounce for a couple minutes if you need to. I hate that I know that, and like I feel badly. And to be fair,
like we're pretty far from another set piece. Okay,
yes,
I got it.
But to be fair, in Dune 2, I was just like, just hold it. No, I think this movie's like 3 hours long, but it's so good. I really didn't want to miss a single minute. You know, I was really like, I don't think I'm gonna make it.
Especially when it's Dune and be like, they have to shove so much exposition in this thing.
Yeah, but it is weird that, like you said, there's these tricks that like you have to wake up the audience, but it is those established tricks that they've had to learn in films that like didn't get carried on. I think one of the craziest things that I learned is like the longer I was in the industry was, and this is not to be glib, this is not a bad thing, but like there are very few new ideas, and like every director,
there's about 5 stories.
Yeah, every director that
Maybe
you
7
love, that you're like, I can't believe they did that thing. Very rarely did they invent the thing. They got it from someone. Star Wars is 7
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's like Star Wars is Dune.
With no Kurosawa, there's which absolutely.
Like the Jedi's the Bene Gesserit.
Yes.
Like, yeah, it's fine. It's what it is.
One of my, still to this day, one of my absolute favorite movies is Aliens. I think it's just damn near perfect. And when the movie Starship Troopers came out, I'm like, this is a stupid ripoff. Only to find out that Aliens was James Cameron reading the book Starship Troopers and going, let's just make that Aliens. And I was like, oh God, I'm so backwards. I had no idea. I just, it's embarrassing. But yeah, I think that's what was surprising to me is that all your favorite people in the industry who do a thing that you like have watched someone else do a thing and were like, either they just stole it directly or they're like, what would my version of that be? Because they were inspired by the thing. There's very few like eureka moments that someone just does something that hasn't been done before.
100%. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. There are only a few like real story shapes that work because we're like dumb monkey brains and we're acclimated to stories being a certain way. If you want to do something, avant-garde, like great, write a novel that no one's going to read. Fabulous. But it's like, if it's going to be a movie or a TV show, like there's a way you have to do it because everyone's going to feel in their bones that it's wrong because we've been calibrated to accept like the beat sheet of like Save the Cat. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, like even the easiest thing there is the 180 rule, which if you're not familiar, you are familiar in that you don't know it until you see it.
You would know it if it was not followed.
But in any kind of film, when you shoot Morgan this way, you shoot me this way. If you flip one of us the wrong way, your brain doesn't know where we're standing, and it's hard to explain until you see the wrong version of it, and you just go, wait, what? Like your brain hates it. But it's something that film taught us. It's not something that we do in normal life. Your brain doesn't know that. It's just now it does. It's interesting.
And then it's like that's one of those things that's like why I don't regret going to film school or anything, because it's nice to learn the rules, then you can know how to break them intentionally.
Absolutely.
So they were like, this is the line, but if you want to break it, like great. If you want to switch shoulders, shoulders, like if we're doing an over-the-shoulder conversation, like your camera would be over that shoulder, my camera would be over this shoulder, and if my camera was over this shoulder, then it would break the rule. We'd both be looking in the same direction, and it wouldn't cut, because it's like we wouldn't be flipping, and it wouldn't look like we were looking at each other. But if I wanted to switch it for some intentional reason, all I have to do is have it dolly across my head over to that shoulder.
Precisely.
So if you see it, then it's fine. But
And now
it
we,
would
the
be
audience, are
otherwise.
okay with it. We get what you've done.
Yeah, exactly. You just show them.
But we were trained in that by media. That's what's so
Yeah,
crazy.
it's like so much of it is subconscious, and people will be like, "Well, that sucked." Be like, "But you can't say why."
Yeah.
It's probably because there's some one weird rule that wasn't followed.
Yeah. The doctors hate.
Yeah.
This one weird rule. Wait, was there more news stuff we were supposed to do?
We can. So that was kind of.
Okay.
I think that was Disney. I don't know what the fuck we just.
Well,
talked
no,
about.
I mean, everyone
But-
tuned in because on my teaser I said today we're going to talk about Citizen Kane. I was like, "What up, TikTok? It's
Duh.
Citizen Kane Day!"
Yeah.
And everyone was
Guys.
really excited about that. Yeah.
But the other studios at CinemaCon, they also talked about, this is one I wanted to talk about, especially Lionsgate, who's like Jason Blum has like all of Blumhouse is distributed to them now, essentially. They're gonna fucking
this
remake
news.
Blair Witch
I
Project.
hate this news.
They're gonna remake Blair Witch Project.
I hate this news.
Now, if you're younger than us, you might not remember Blair Witch or what it was like before the internet when that came out.
But here's the thing that you probably don't remember. In 2016, they put out another Blair Witch movie.
And it didn't
It wasn't
exactly.
good.
It wasn't good.
It's not good.
But Blair Witch worked specifically. It wasn't just that it was found footage.
Yes.
It was that everybody thought it was real.
It's one of the first ARGs.
Yeah, and everybody thought it was like a real thing. It was actual found footage.
Yes. I was obsessed. I was actually obsessed. I was,
It was great.
to date myself, I was fully on board with all of it. And
Like about 2 things happen in the entire movie, but it's good suspense.
I got to see it, and even crazier, I got to see an advanced screening. So I saw it 6 weeks before it came out or something, and it was at a Fangoria convention. They gave away tickets. We went to a seedy theater in Pasadena, and we saw it. And I've never had a theater experience like it before. I've never had credits roll and literally hear everyone finally let a breath out at once. I'm just like, like, it was amazing. I've never seen the movie since.
It was visceral. I remember everybody complaining because it was like shaky.
Yeah.
shaky.
I've
Everyone
never-
complaining about that. They were going to throw up from it. But
I saw it that night and I've never watched it since.
Now we're
And
just
I have
used to
no
it, I guess.
intention of ever seeing it again because it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Because I was on board all the way. I was on all the internet stuff. I was like, I knew it wasn't real, but I didn't care. But I also loved, they were very stringent. They didn't let the cast do interviews, which is too bad because they were all unknown.
They would never
this
do
was
that
their big break.
nowadays. Yeah.
But like they wouldn't let them do it because they wanted that to be the surprises. Maybe these kids are dead. We're not sure.
yeah, back when that was an actual like thing,
And
you could get away with that. You can never get away with
It was also one of the first movies to fully leak and get out before it came out. And I think because of the way it was shot and because it was so indie, people didn't feel like bad about just like stealing it. So it came out like on, I want to say LimeWire probably or something like that. You could get it like, right before it came out.
Pirate Bay.
Yeah, and this is a true story. There's a really great comedian named Phil Hendry. He's a voice actor. He's on Rick and Morty now. He's every other character on Rick and Morty, but he's like the principal and stuff, or the teacher or whatever. But he used to have a radio show, and he's a very talented man. And his whole bit was that he could do multiple voices, but he would literally call himself. And no one, and like dumb people didn't know that. So he'd just be like, "Hi, I'm a little boy." And they'd be like, "Hey, little boy, what are you doing?" And it's all him. And he would do these shows and he had all these characters, very funny. Not all of it holds up. But he was having a serious night where he was talking about he had seen Blair Witch. It was before it came out. He had seen the pirated copy and he hadn't seen the full ending because it didn't have the real ending for a while in the corner and stuff. And they added extra bits to make the ending make more sense right before it went to theaters. And he was just dogging on the movie and spoiling it. And
Really?
and this guy was my idol. I listened to him for years and I called in and flipped out on him. And they took my call because I was so freaked out. I was like, "You're not here. Have you watched the real version of the movie? There's a scene that they have." Like, blah, blah, blah." I was losing my fucking mind on radio, late night radio with Phil Hendry, idol of mine. Anyway, yeah, that was.
I miss late night radio.
I
as the
loved that movie.
concept.
I made custom action figures of Blair Witch. I was all in. I was 1,000,000%. I remember a friend bought. At South by Southwest, I think it was, to promote it, they had the Blair Witch symbols made out of sticks. They were the ones from the movie, supposedly. And then they like gave them away or sold them or something.
Yeah.
I had a friend,
like old school presser kind of style. Yeah.
I had a friend who bought one on eBay for like $120, and we were jealous. We were like, "Oh my god, dude! I can't believe you got those four sticks tied together for $120. You're so lucky. I can't. Can I touch this? No, absolutely not."
Yeah. But now it's just gonna be found footage in a forest. That's all. Like what is that gonna mean to somebody remaking or like Is it remake? It's remake, right?
We're in a weird place.
It's a remake. So I don't even know what the fuck
what is that? It's nothing, because they literally, I mean, and sorry, the Blair Witch is old. The concept was they really took 3 actors, put them in and they say the woods. They were basically in a park. Like they would have to pause for bicycles and stuff. But like, but they would give them at the start of the day. It was kind of a LARP. They would give them a thing to read about what their character motivation was or what they would do that day, and that was it. And they just kind of let them spiral from there. And so it was like,
I love that idea.
You lose the map, or like you are possessed or something, and they would just do that, and they'd play off of each other. And the only part of it that literally the only part that I'm like, well, that's not real. And admittedly, I watched it a few times digitally afterwards, just when I was still in the hype of it. So I have seen it more than once, but like only like immediately after the moment. But it's like day 3 or whatever, and one of them suddenly finds cigarettes in his backpack. He's like, oh, I have an extra. He's like, where'd you get that cigarette? He's like, I found it in the bottom of my backpack. I was a smoker for years. Don't do that. Stupid thing to do. But no smoker in the universe would find a cigarette 3 days later at the bottom of his backpack. That is the most unrealistic thing I've ever seen in a movie. No, you've already torn apart the backpack 28 times.
Yeah.
You don't accidentally and then just go, oh, cool, man, there you are. That is not how that works.
You know where they are. You know how many you have left.
And especially if you're in a stressful situation, you know exactly where they are.
That is fair.
And where they aren't.
I would like that idea. Like, I thought that'd be fun to just get a bunch of like, I don't know, like influencer friends, just like rent a cabin in the woods and like, here, everybody just go off and do your own thing.
Here's what I hate. What you just said the plot for what the new Blair Witch is gonna be.
Oh shit! No, that is 100% what it's gonna be.
You just called it. It's gonna be fucking Mr. Beast sends his friends out to the Blair Witch house. It's gonna be meta like the second movie, which was terrible. It was meta. The second movie said that the Blair Witch was a movie, and Mr. Beast is gonna send his friends to the Blair Witch house, and then the real Blair Witch is gonna get them.
Can you imagine that actually would be? What if it was a completely normal movie and then at the end it just turns out that they were in a Mr. Beast video and he just comes out?
So it's kind of Squid Game.
Yeah, it's like they weren't just lost in the woods. It's like they were dropped in the woods by Mr. Beast and be like, I dropped 7 kids in the woods with a video camera.
And there was a witch. What sucks too is that the 2016 one,
the thumbnail.
Yes, you can keep pointing at them.
Yeah.
And then one of them is like dead in a tree. I think Adam Wingard did the 2016 one, who's one of my absolute favorite directors. That was cool too because it was a reveal. They showed it at Comic-Con. It was called The Woods, and then the reveal was, oops, it's Blair Witch. And it had some neat ideas. There's a drone thing that happens in that's kind of clever, but wow, did it not work? It just didn't work. And they kept showing the witch, which is the whole point is that you don't do. Yeah. I could not be less enthused for a remake. What a terrible idea. I hate it. Does anyone want this? Who's this for? I remember.
Also, I keep thinking it's like, aren't they doing pretty well? It's like, this feels like one of those like arrows you have in your quiver for when it's like you're trying to like stave off a hostile takeover or something and you just need like a bunch of cash really fast. Or something like that. It'd be like, hey, we can always remake this. We always have that. We still own that. We own that property. You'd be like, you could just not do that, because you've been actually kind of knocking it out of the park lately.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so many more obvious choices of. I've spoke with you recently. I'm working on some new stuff with horror stuff, and there's not a lot of like, if I say someone like, oh, do you like Fred? Do you like horror? Do you like Freddy? They're thinking of a giant bear, not of a burn guy with claws. Like that's there are other properties that could use a little touch up from now, maybe. I know we've tried reboots on them several times that didn't work, but like Blumhouse is doing all right.
Nightmare on Elm Street remake was not great.
That did not depressingly bad. Whereas like the Friday the 13th one a few years before that was pretty good and kind of was going somewhere, but then just nothing came of that. But yeah, I just of all things, just look, it's probably, we know this, it's probably to keep the rights. It's one of those things where if you don't,
like, they're gonna lose the rights if they don't use it. That's a good point,
it's like the Fantastic Four movies. Every single Fantastic Four movie is to keep the rights until this new one. That's the only intentional Fantastic Four movie.
Question: do you think in your mind, do you think there's any way where it maybe would have been a better idea to do that as a show, like a Blair Witch show?
1,000,000%.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like that's the easiest way. A, everybody wants to do that anyway because you can get a lot more out of it.
Yeah.
But B, well, then you have to stick with it if it doesn't work, or you have to cancel it and admit defeat instead of just putting out a movie and then it did what it did.
Yeah.
But the idea of like that way it's not compared 1-to-1 because it's going to be a different medium. Be like, well, you can't really compare it to the movie, and you can have so much more character development. You can have a bigger cast. You can have all sorts of different aspects to it, and then you don't have to worry about somebody being like, well, it wasn't exactly like the movie, or they changed this, that, and that.
We're also to the new threats to horror, which is it sounds bigger than it is. I'm just saying, like when you're writing horror now, you always have to account for cell phones, obviously, and
nobody does it right.
Yeah, I mean, like
if I see a goddamn text on screen, I am out.
Really? You just checked out immediately?
Yeah, I'm like, great, this is a YouTube video now. Jesus Christ, there's text on screen, like pop-up video, like immediately out.
Like pop-up video.
It's disgusting.
Pop-up video was a
what's
show.
wrong with an over-the-shoulder? Just show me the phone. Stop trying to YouTubeify this damn movie.
That's all fair. That usually means there's going to be too many texts and that they're afraid people won't read it.
Drives me crazy.
But to that end is that like horror works when you can't see what's in the shadows. It like I was talking about the movie Aliens before, you know, they recently 4K restored it and they took out the film grain, and the whole point of Aliens is that it's film grain. Like it's supposed to look like a documentary.
That
about
was
Vietnam,
because
you know?
I remember
they used AI to do it.
Cameron had an issue with the film grain.
Yeah, and
he'd wished he'd used a different film or something.
So he just redid. He's redoing 3 of his biggies as 4K. He did Titanic, True Lies, and Aliens. And Titanic is even more egregious in some spots, like because they're literally using AI to.
I saw it in 3D when they.
I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, I forget when that happened. It was
a weird thing.
It was a bunch of years ago. Honestly, it was pretty good.
I'll bet it was. It's just such a weird, like, it's such a tragedy of a concept. It's like all these people died in real life. Let's go see it in 3D. Yeah, it's so weird.
That is a little weird. It's like yeah, greatest naval tragedy in 3D.
It's so weird.
Well, then it's like I didn't even realize. I was like, oh god. It's like, do you think Kate Winslet could have ever dreamt a world where her tits would be in 3D?
In the nude scene? Oh
yeah.
God. Oh God, no.
God, that's so weird. It's occurred to me. I'm like, oh, that's so strange.
James Cameron certainly dreamed of it. Yeah, but so sorry. So to that end is that Blair Witch, the charmingness of it is that it's shot on an old video camera. When the footage gets cut out, it has those specific lines to an old video camera, things like that. Everything's perfectly clear now. None of that makes sense anymore. It'll obviously be shot on phones. Like if it's a remake, it'll be shot on phones. There's no other way to do it.
You know what I hate too? It's like
Unless
when they try to do like
retro.
the handheld or somebody recording their phone or whatever. It's like it's obviously not that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like the motion of it isn't quite right. Like you can just when someone shot something with a phone.
Yeah.
Or with a video camera or whatever,
Agreed.
and it's like however they fake it, it's still too good.
Oh, and
it's like I know it's still an ARRI.
Yeah,
like
you know that fake HUD. That, like, we all have access to that element. We know what that is. When it says the record thing, and it's like we know what that is. You know what? Yeah, sidebar. Help me with something. There's a thing, and excuse me, I'm guilty of it too, is that like on YouTube videos, any videos, when something goes wrong and as a joke, you'll do the like, the film broke or whatever, haha, we're doing a bit. Yeah. And people do color bars. You do the beep, the color bars. Everyone knows the color bar bit. But most people who are watching those videos have never seen color bars in their life and don't know what that is.
Yeah.
They just know that beep and this means something went wrong. So what's the new color bars? Like, what is, like, if something glitches on my video on a phone or something, there isn't one, right? Like, what is the new thing that's...
Well, I mean, that only existed in broadcast.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
But now we know...
Well, I mean, we don't even experience that. I mean, unless you're watching, like, a live stream. And I guess the equivalent would be, like, when Twitch streams, like, go out and it goes to that purple screen. But, like,
but that's, like, licensed, right? It's, like, their Twitch... Or the YouTube...
It's an emote. Oh, my God. Is that a thing we should be doing? Like, that's the version of color bars?
That's what I'm saying. I've seen ones before.
Does someone do that? So anybody who watches YouTube videos, you're chronically online.
Yeah.
Buffering circle still kind of matters, but but like realistically, if I were to do like a pandering to 17-year-olds kind of video and I wanted to do the color bar gag, I would probably do the Twitch like disconnecting thing.
Yeah, that's all I can think of. Because I've seen YouTubers do the joke where they'll say something like controversial or something, and then they'll throw the demonetized like full screen up. Like I've seen that bit, but it's just funny to be the color. There's so many things we associate as just that means something, but without having the context of what color bars are, because that's what a TV would do when it went badly, when it was like a tube television. So it makes no sense. I sorry, unrelated tangent. It's fine. One of the companies I work for now does like kids and like tween content. And there's like this thing for like Lego girls or something, and it's like teen girls or tween girls, and one of them sees someone doing something they're not supposed to see, and they turn around and they go "Pring," and it was the Metal Gear sound. And I was like, that's just the sound now when you see something or when someone or when you get caught. It's the Metal Gear sound, but no one knows that's from Metal Gear. Like, it's so, there's just things we hear and see now. They're like, oh yeah, that's what that means. Yeah. But without context.
Yeah, I lose my mind when I'm thinking about this stuff at night. Yeah. Well, it's like nobody does the censored sound anymore. It's always like the Minecraft, like oof.
Yes.
That kind of thing. People know that's from Minecraft at least, but yeah.
But then even that guy.
Also now, yeah, they know. YouTube got smart to that.
Yeah. Well, also there's a whole backstory in that. If you H-Bomber Guy did a video on Tommy Tallarico and the oof sound. It's like 2 hours long. I can't recommend it enough. It really goes insane. But anyway, oof is from Earthworm Jim and then was in Minecraft. No, it's not Minecraft, my friend. It's Roblox, in fact.
My bad.
If I may.
Sorry, I'm over 30.
God, boomer.
That was embarrassing.
We youngins.
Just go yeet myself into a volcano now.
I tried to make the joke that I was younger than you, and then I used the word youngins. I think I failed instantly on that bit.
Let's go right into a grave.
What else was announced that we don't want?
A Monopoly movie from Margot Robbie.
They've been threatening this forever, though, because remember,
That's also Lionsgate, by the way, but it's being produced through her company. She's going to go down. I think it's one of the most prolific producers. Her company's kind of fucking killing it.
yeah.
But yeah, what the fuck is a Monopoly movie going to be? If it isn't like an absolute teardown of capitalism, I'm going to be furious.
I mean, no joke. We've been threatening this for a long time. Ridley Scott was going to make one at one point. There was going to be a Ridley Scott Monopoly movie, and he was into it. He was really excited. He's like, I'm making Monopoly.
Ridley Scott needs to take a nap.
I will admit, Ridley Scott has made some of my favorite movies. Ridley Scott
love
needs to
Ridley
take a nap.
Scott. Yeah.
I need Ridley to chill out a little bit. Yeah, it's time to happily retire Ridley Scott.
I recently rewatched Kingdom of Heaven because it's doing, God knows why. It's just every once in a while a movie like hits on TikTok and there's little clips.
Oh, really?
And they get
Kingdom
like
of Heaven, huh?
people make like little fan cams of like certain characters. There's like
surprised about that
fan
one.
cams of King Baldwin, the leper king of Jerusalem. Like, that's where we are right now on TikTok.
Hi.
But yeah, so I saw a lot of clips. I ended up rewatching it. It's like that's one of those movies where it's like, oh, cool. The first 30 minutes has so much plot, and then it's like 2.5 hours of battle scenes I couldn't give a shit about.
Yeah, it just happens.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Oh, Monopoly movie. You know what sucks is that everything is on the table now because Barbie was so good. So like everything's gonna get greenlit no matter how bad of a day it is. Like it'll be like, what Barbie? Like, yeah, but Battleship. Like do you remember?
Yeah, we did this. We did this before. Barbie is Transformers. It's like Transformers hit, and then everyone they start doing the Battleship.
And remember G.I. Joe?
Yeah,
like it's so funny. They just announced, like, I think it was yesterday. They're like, by the way, G.I. Joe will be part of the Transformers universe. It's like, you literally did that at the end of the last Transformers movie. That's not, and it wasn't good. It's just that no one stayed to watch that movie. You're only announcing. It's sad you have to announce that because that's literally the post-credit scene in the last Transformers movie.
Like nobody's.
Is that a guy who hands him a card and it says G.I. Joe? It's very sad that 2 years later, they have to be like, guys, we're going to cross over the universes. We're like, yeah, no, we know you already told us that. But no one saw it.
Hashtag sad.
Hashtag sad.
Hashtag sad.
So Monopoly movie. Okay, so wait. There's also a Ouija board movie coming. Don't forget.
Didn't we do that already?
Yeah. No. Oh, shoot. You know what? I'm getting it wrong. Sorry. You're right. Ouija already happened. 8 Ball is happening. That's true. Magic 8 Ball is happening. That is true. I don't know if it's a horror movie, but it really is.
It better be a horror movie.
Really, I have no idea. It is a very real thing that's happening.
It's gonna be like Click. It's gonna be like a '90s rom-com where someone gets this magic 8 ball and it can like tell the future now.
And it's horribly sexist. Like,
yeah.
Like,
like what women want. It's like that whole genre, like misogynistic magic.
Insane movie idea. What an insane movie idea that was.
I miss when we can get away with that.
Be left alone.
I miss like magic element changes someone like liar. You can't get away with that shit nowadays. It doesn't play.
And you know when people say that, like, you couldn't make that movie nowadays? Good, don't. You shouldn't have been. It's like, look, all those movies raised me. My brain was raised real broken, but like, you can grow. You can grow as a person and look back and go, oh no, that's actually quite bad.
If only.
Peter Venkman in Ghostbusters, sex past, horrible person.
Christ.
No, but okay, so wait. I'm gonna posit this. What is a board game that could work? Like Monopoly, I genuinely don't see it. I don't get it. It's
one of those things. It's like,
movie.
I mean, I'll count D&D. Like the D&D movie is pretty good.
I totally agree with
that.
you.
That was pretty well.
Yes.
I thought it would have been a much better show.
Yeah.
And I thought the pacing was insane because it went
agree.
too fast.
I agree.
It went way too fast.
Yep.
It needed, like none of it had a second to breathe, but I still liked it.
Let's agree that the best part about the D&D movie is that there's a character named Jarnathan. Not Jonathan, Jarnathan, which may be the most D&D sitting around the table thing I've ever seen, like actually put on screen. It's like, and they say his name a few times and no one even stops and goes, wait, what's your name? No, it's just like, it's Jarnathan. And like, yeah, no, that's exactly what the guy at the table, that's me not paying attention. And they're like, what's your character name? Like, Jarnathan? I legit did a role-playing game once, like a hard science role-playing game, and I hadn't come up with a name, and I named my character Tall, like T-O-L, because I'm tall. It was just literally the last minute thing. And one of the people in that group has gone on to write novels about that
Shut
session
up.
we had. So
And that
the
character is
of
now
Paul is in like multiple books. And like I feel bad. I gave so little into
It's
it.
pretty solid backstory.
But anyway, so like what like Settlers of Catan and stuff like that might work. You know, like
I'm surprised they haven't done that, frankly.
who does
That's having a moment. That's come back. I mean,
Yeah,
board
absolutely.
games in general, like
Yeah.
especially the nerdier ones,
yeah.
are I'll
Cones
say
of Dunshire.
more esoteric
Yeah.
board games. The ones that are a little more difficult to set up are having kind of a moment.
Yeah.
which is nice.
Mousetrap the movie. No. I mean,
It's trouble. Sorry.
Battleship kind of could have worked if it wasn't about aliens, I guess. I don't know.
What's the one where you have to like guess who? What if
Guess who?
it's a guess who
is it
movie.
him?
It's like it's just like a straight up detective
Yeah.
thing, but they just happen to call it Guess Who.
It's just the new Knives Out. Knives Out, guess who? I'd watch that,
Yeah, why not?
actually. Does he have a mustache? Like, just go through the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah.
Clue was good too, Kendall. That's a
dude,
good point. Clue was
The problem
great.
is you can never make another Clue movie.
No.
I think they probably are.
You know what
but-
I love? People who didn't see Clue in theaters are probably, if you watched it right now, if you went to stream it, they play 3 different endings.
Right.
But they don't explain why. It's because they had 3 different versions of the movie in theaters, and depending on like where you went to see it, there would be a different ending.
How insane is that?
So like when you watch it, it's just like inexplicably it shows the ending 3 times.
People didn't
but
like that. They were like, "What? You want to pay to see the movie 3 times to see how it ends? That's a terrible idea." I think it's a neat idea, but yeah, people didn't.
I mean, the whole movie is so batshit. It'd be like, yeah, why not do that too? Sure.
I love that movie. Someone said Betrayal at House on the Hill. That is a great choice. That is a really good idea. Sims movie.
I don't know that one.
Oh man. I mean, what is the Sims movie? Well, I mean,
yeah, Sims
but
movie.
now I'm back to like, you can't do a Sims Barbie. Yeah, you can. Okay.
I think somebody was saying it's like, please just like have the balls to do the whole thing in Simlish,
yeah.
with subtitles. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
I would go to that actually. I played some Sims, a lot of, not a whole lot of Sims, but I would still just for the uniqueness of that. Or you do a Simlish cut. Yeah.
Simlish.
Yeah, that's the move. Yeah. Yeah, I
Like when they release it on home video, there's like an extra subtitle option or something.
yeah, yes. I just can't.
I love that clip of Katy Perry like doing Last Friday Night, but
She
like
did the whole song.
Yeah,
Didn't she?
the
Yeah,
whole
she
thing in
really did
Simlish,
it.
yeah.
She was all in. She had like the
did a
thing
good
over her
job,
head. I can't think of a time I played a board game and was like, man, this should be a movie. Like D&D for sure. Any tabletop session, you're like, this could be a movie.
well, yeah, because
But
that's
your imagination.
It's storytelling
Yeah,
in
yeah.
essence. I'm like looking at my little shelf there.
But the rules of like a board game, like yeah, none of them really just jump out at me. Like, yeah, this could be 2 hours of storytelling. Certainly not Monopoly. Who's the company who does all the animation stuff now? They did Mario. They do all the like safe animation. Not DreamWorks, but whatever they're called.
yeah, it's the other one.
It'll come to me in a second. But anyway, they like I could see them doing Monopoly, where it's literally a dog in a hat, and like, sure, you know, they just do it as that, like the Emoji Movie. But that's not what they're doing.
But also, if they try to do the Barbie treatment,
Yeah.
for Monopoly,
Yeah.
and do that whole like kind of bubblegummy like fake world thing, it's like it's gonna feel stale. It's not. It's gonna feel like pandering. too
Yeah,
much.
and Barbie is Barbie, and for what it's worth too, you know, like that's kind of the joke is that Barbie actually has an expanded universe of all these characters like Midge and Ken and Alan, and it worked great for the film. Monopoly is Monopoly. It's Mr. Pennybags.
It's essentially it's real estate.
Yeah.
That's the game is just about real estate.
And yet, I would love to have seen Ridley Scott's version. To be fair, I would love to know where, because he seemed way into it. It was years ago, but I'd really like to know where he was genuinely. It's probably going to be Wolf of Wall Street or something. It's probably just that, something similar to that. But like now,
like a There Will Be Blood of real estate.
yeah,
oil.
yeah. I mean, like
Actually, that sounds okay.
because
That sounds okay.
we come from an era where they would make property movies where they were ashamed of the properties, so they tried to change it as much as they could and barely reference it,
Mm-hmm.
and then. Now though, especially since Barbie, like you got to just do it on the nose and be like, it's Monopoly. Like you're a hat and you're a shoe. Like you have to just go with what it is.
It just stars a thimble and a cat.
Yes, yes. Which maybe I'm in. Okay. Well, we'll
I mean,
put
I
together a pitch.
literally wouldn't even know where to start. If somebody said, "Here's $1 billion, make a Monopoly movie," I'd be like, I don't fucking know.
That is one of the nightmare scenarios, right? Is that like you dream of the things you wish you could work on,
Yeah.
and then you like there's ones that I'm like, oh no, like, and like if you gave me like a Superman movie, I would do exactly what James Gunn is doing. I would just take the best Superman book written by Mark Millar Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's art and just do that, because I don't know, man, I don't have a good Superman story in me. Like, yeah, I think he's a cool character, but I don't want to do it. I didn't like his last 3 movies, but I don't want to do it.
Seriously, I really don't envy James Gunn right now, because they're gonna be everybody's looking at him like, if this Superman movie isn't that great,
Yeah.
then congratulations, you're cursed for another 10 years.
Yes, I've been thinking about James Gunn lately, and only because he is in a really weird position, and he's always been a very outspoken person online, which well,
It is unprecedented that we've had this kind of access to someone who's like in the middle of making like a new cinematic universe.
Yes.
So he'll answer questions.
And he answers what he wants when he doesn't, which is very smart. And like, as someone even was like, "Hey, what's going to happen with this Gamora?" And he's just like, "Not my world anymore. I don't get to choose any of those things anymore." But I was thinking of James Gunn because I was thinking of obviously the Warner Brothers stuff, and they're canceling movies and putting movies away, and like Batwoman and all that stuff, or was it Batgirl? It was Batwoman, and then just all the things that just suddenly went away, and he was kind of coming into power. That like I think in a world of like, although never mind, everything I just said doesn't make any sense, because I was going to say I think James Gunn knew a little bit more about things that are getting shelved than we're pretending he knew, but he also was a writer on Acme versus Coyote, so never mind, because he would have wanted that to come out because he wrote it.
I'm sad about that.
And it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, that's insane. So never mind.
Never
I wasted your time with my conspiracy theory that wasn't real. Because if anyone would want Warner Brothers to stop putting movies away, it's James Gunn, because he wrote one of them that never came out.
Yeah, and that tells us about like he has a lot of power, but there's still like there's Discovery executives who are like, yeah, go fuck yourself, actually.
Yeah, look, all the very normal, very not psychopathic CEOs of all the giant corporations that run all of entertainment, very normal people who make very normal decisions,
Completely,
and should absolutely keep their positions of power. Everything's great. Please keep paying me.
Well, on the Warner Brothers side, did you see the Joker 2 trailer? The teaser trailer.
I did. I want to address something. Hear me out. This is because I can't stay on a topic for 2 seconds. Someone said there's a Fortnite monopoly, ergo everything is monopoly. I have to tell you about something. It's a short story, I promise.
There isn't everything monopoly.
I was at and that's just it. I was at a friend's place, and we were doing board game night, and he was, he has a lot of board games, and some have been given as gifts. He's like an actor type, so he has like a lot of free stuff and stuff. He's literally been on boxes of games, and we were all looking at his games, and he's an enthusiast, and he had a bunch of monopolies. And one of them was bass fishing monopoly. That's weird. That's a strange thing. Now where I'm going with this. So it turned out that was part of a 2-pack that was a joke gift someone had given him at Christmas. They were like, "Oh, you like board games?" So they gave the worst monopolies they could possibly find. And one of them, and I swear to God this exists, and Google this in a moment, Sun-Made Raisin Monopoly. What? There's a whole monopoly. I have photos. I swear to God it's real. Dedicated to sun-made raisins. You get to play as like, I want to say a bonnet. There's cards specific to just sun-made raisins. Imagine, if you will, you're an artist and you're like trying to make your big break, and they're like, "I got you a gig. You get to draw cards for Monopoly, the game Monopoly," and you're like, "Oh my God, everything!"
Yeah. Honey, it's happening.
Yes, I get to work on a Monopoly game. Which one is it? Is it Fortnite? Is it a new movie? It's Guardians of the Galaxy. Better. Yeah. It's sun-made raisins. Sorry, I can't get over it. I can't get over it. And it was very funny because it was like a game night with a bunch of like producers and stuff, and we're all just giving him an infinitely hard time. And then I was like, "You realize at one point, all of us make content. At one point, one of us is going to call you at 11 p.m. and be like, I will give you $600 for the Monopoly, like for Sun-Made Monopoly. 100%. I talked about it too much. We have to shoot it right now." Like I've got Quentin Tarantino's at my home, and he wants to play Sun-Made Monopoly.
Also, I'm trying to think, like, is this it's just like a think tank of they're trying to come up with ideas for it? Is there like a raisin lobby that's like, we need to get people onto this sun-made raisin?
I don't know.
It's like, be like, guys, this is like a whole campaign that they're lobbying for to get people to eat raisins, and they're like, we gotta get Monopoly, billboards, like everything.
Anyway, you asked me a question. I said I'd tell a short story. That was 30 minutes ago.
Joker 2, Joker,
yes.
Joker.
Got all them jokes.
Yeah, whatever the fuck. Yeah. Do you see the new teaser?
I did.
Thoughts?
I think my takeaway from it is I think people are going to be very disappointed because it looks like almost the entire movie is in the asylum, and that the scenes where they are out in the world being Joker and Harley all look like dream sequences where they have the makeup on and stuff, except maybe where she's walking up the stairs.
There was one where they're kind of like dancing in the street, and then it goes to the parallel of them in the dream state. So it's like, all right, well that's real.
Right.
And it's obviously, it's like, and it sounds, when you watch that, if you as I feel like a lot of people who probably are into that movie or that world, probably not huge musical people. I am, and that's kind of pretty standard, actually.
I like the twist on it.
They're not exactly reinventing it. Like, actually, it's kind of standard musical stuff. Yeah. Like Chicago was like that too. If you go watch Chicago on a stage, it's just the parts where they're in the black box doing the dancing.
These aren't great references, but they are similar in that it reminds me of Sucker Punch, and it reminds me of the new Moon Knight series, where it's basically
it's actually very Sucker Punchy. Yeah.
And their mind is wandering, and they're in a fantastical world, and that's all the trailers give me. There's a scene of Gaga coming up the stairs as Harley in a full outfit, and I think that might be reality. In the movie, but everything else, I feel like he's in there the whole time. I don't know if they even get out till the end.
I don't know, but my thing is like the fact that it's a jukebox musical.
Yeah.
So it's like when they start, like, because the first movie I loved, like actually like top 10 movie for me. I was like, this is
no kidding,
fucking great. I watched it on a plane too.
Wow, that is a high praise for a film. If you're like, great plane movie,
good. That was great. But the idea of like that version of the Joker, when he starts belting out Uptown Girl, like I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that.
You know what? I'm gonna use your show for 2 minutes to say something that I don't understand why no one has said. Everyone keeps bugging Martin Scorsese about Marvel movies, because remember once he was just like,
they won't leave him alone about it. Yeah.
They asked him that question right as Joker was coming out. If you've seen Joker and you've seen Martin Scorsese movies, they literally just took 2 of his movies.
It's like Taxi Driver, and
the lead of one of his movies, and put it in there, and then made his movie again and called it Joker. Of course he doesn't like superhero, and they're like, he hates Marvel movies. I'm like, I don't think he was talking about Marvel. I don't think that's who he was mad at in that exact moment. I don't think that was it. You literally took one of his movies, took the star of that movie, put him in the other role, and then called it Joker. You just took his movie. It just is. Anyway, that was my 2 minutes. Thank you. I think here's what's good. The first 20 seconds of the trailer, I was in the wrong mindset. I was just like, oh, this is gonna own the incels that love Joker because it's a musical now. But I only thought that because the internet told me to think that way. They're like, oh, twist, it's a musical, everyone's gonna hate it. Like, who cares who likes the movie? Like, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie.
Actually, during CinemaCon, Todd Phillips just randomly was like, oh yeah, he's bi, by the way. Like, canon.
Joker's always been bi, and leaning more towards just Bat. Like, if he has a preference, it's just Batman, frankly. That's hilarious. I love that. And good. And especially Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Yeah, I'm more interested in.
Sorry, real quick. I just randomly thinking about it, like, oh, Joaquin Phoenix, of course, but it's like, what was that like Tom Hardy? Somebody asked him his sexuality. He was just like, he's like, I'm an actor. Of course, I've had sex with a man.
It's like, what a stupid answer. I love that. It's like, I'm not even a real person. I don't even know where I start and end anymore, man. Why is it important to you?
I mean, artiste.
Yeah, you don't have a shot with me either way. So why are you asking? Yeah. I don't know. Are people excited for Joker too? Like, as you just said, Joker's one of your top 10.
About it. I liked it. I'm not the biggest Lady Gaga actress fan. She's good. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I am worried about the jukebox musical aspect.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll play great. I don't know. I have faith in Todd Phillips, I guess. He did a good job with the first one, even though it's kind of out of pocket for him.
Now, when you hear jukebox musical, do you think like lip syncing like an ABBA thing, or are you thinking Moulin Rouge where it's their own version of it? Because I don't know which one it'll be.
We don't know yet because it was just the teaser trailer. I don't know, but it would be interesting if it was like a Moulin Rouge thing. I don't know if that would be worse or not.
I think I'd prefer that personally, where it's their own take.
Because like if they just choose songs where it's that kind of like lyrically apply to their state, like it's gonna just
what was some kind of Suicide Squad?
like I don't know.
That movie where they literally every time something would happen, they just play a song that was exactly that thing. It was so bad.
I don't know.
Yeah, I want it to be.
Also, what's the Joker singing voice sound like?
Good question.
You know what I mean? I know what he sounds like as Johnny Cash, but what is like?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
How does the Joker sing?
Do you want to know the most underrated films? I was just talking about it last night. It's Walk Hard, the spoof of what was the Johnny Cash movie?
People love that shit.
Walk Hard is one of the funniest. Walk the Line.
Yeah.
Walk Hard is. It's because I watched the new Please Do Not Destroy movie, which is very mid, and then I went from there to Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping, which is good, but then it reminded me that Walk Hard is a better movie. Walk Hard's a great movie. Go see Walk Hard. It's a comedy. It's very good. The Beatles scene alone is worth it. But Yeah, I mean, you are the biggest Joker fan I know. I just found that out. So if you're on the fence,
I liked
then
it a
I'm
lot,
scared.
and I don't know why.
I'm more interested in this one than I was the first one.
It's like, because it could go one of two ways. Like Warner Brothers saw that was a hit and it did great. He won best actor, all that. Then you either go, okay, great, do it again, or you go to Todd Phillips and say, great, do whatever you want. And then, and it sounds like they did the latter.
Do whatever you want,
and he was
sure.
like,
Yeah.
Great, I'm gonna give it a French title, and it's gonna be a fucking musical.
And they're gonna have to figure out how to put that on billboards. I love it.
Yeah, I still don't know how to say the title of it. I don't know. I have not looked it up yet. I'm gonna have to because I'm gonna keep talking about it. But
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we're gonna have to. Oh man, we're gonna have to like speak to people who know French to explain to us how it's said.
we don't have to talk to people. You can Google this kind of thing.
True. That's true. I have a French Canadian brother-in-law. I'll ask him.
I'm not gonna ask people. Kidding me?
Just be confident. Just say what you want to be confident about it.
You know what? I'll jump to this too because we're on the topic of like kind of like musical stuff. There's going to be a Bee Gees biopic directed by Ridley Scott. Going back to Ridley.
Yeah.
I don't know much about their actual story. Was there like a rift there?
I honestly don't either. And I think like most people of a certain generation, my Bee Gees is Justin Timberlake doing an impression of the Bee Gees, and also what's his name? It was him and sorry, one of the Jimmys, Jimmy Fallon, were doing it. And yes, I too am no longer the Timberlake camp. I admittedly was in the Birdie book, and I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, you suck. Yeah, I mean, I only know the Bee Gees as a spoof, and I know them as a big thing. So yeah, maybe this is a hit story that no one knows. Maybe they've been sitting on it, and they're like, oh wow, this is really actually intense. I don't know. I don't know who wants this, but if there's a hook we don't know, cool, I guess. I think the way to do it... I
like Ridley Scott just fine, but like...
Yeah, I think the way to do it is to show an era in which disco becomes a thing, because it is fascinating. Like even the original Saturday Night Fever.
Done something like in the 60s, 70s. Like I'm trying to think. Like
I don't know if he has. I think if the
like that through his lens could be interesting.
Yeah, and for what I know of the Bee Gees, which is almost nothing, is that they were the sellout. I mean, they were the number one thing. So it's not like they're not the Rolling Stones. You know, they're not the like, oh, what are these guys doing? They're rocking too hard. There was like the Bee Gees were never that I know of. Mm-hmm. So it might be interesting to genuinely see an era through the lens of the candy cane, you know, the perfect boys, who obviously every band has a flaw and then everyone did cocaine. But yeah, I don't know, that might be interesting to actually see, instead of the obvious rockumentary of someone spiraling, to just see an era through someone who's really on top, but also an era that's very silly, and that by being on top of disco, you are the people who are ignoring the Vietnam War and
that's a good
voting
point.
Rights. And like,
if he went that way with it, it could be really interesting.
That could be kind of cool to be. It's like, this is a terrible example, but what is the Oscar nominated film where their home is right next to the concentration camp, Intensity of Silence or something. It'll come to me in a moment, but anyway, where the film is literally just a German officer's home, and you never see where he goes to work, but you hear it, and it's just horrifying what's yards away. If you did sort of a biopic about the Bee Gees having this great time in the 70s and just making disco hits as like just the world melts down around them, that could be interesting.
That could be interesting. Yeah, I wonder if it's. I don't think they mentioned, but I wonder if it's like based on a biography or something.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Those things are.
It's just one of those.
They're doing one of the things I was going to talk about is they're shopping a Chris Farley biopic based on a biography.
Yeah,
which I'm actually a little concerned about, because it's like if somebody tried to play Jim Carrey, it'd be like when someone's 1,000% of a human.
Yes.
Be like it's you have to do the best impression of all time. Otherwise, it's going to come off as like super cringe and camp and disrespectful. And
Chris has a brother who admittedly looks a lot like him, but is not an actor and has no intention of doing that. I think the only positivity that I have about that biopic is that he is so beloved that no one will let him screw it up. You know what I mean? Like, and not in a way that like someone mentioned the Freddie Mercury documentary, which is like so whitewashed and like so like not real, you know. That was almost too glad-handing.
I did not care for that.
Where's Rocket Man? I actually loved the Elton John one. I thought that was really good.
I didn't see it, but I heard it was really good.
I can't recommend it enough. It has some moments that I think were so brilliant in that the movie knows or assumes you've seen these before, and so it'll be like, he's on drugs. You get it. Like like the drugs are bad and it's gonna mess him up for a while. You get it, right? And then they'll just fast forward. They'll be like, you get it.
You guys know that part. Yeah.
We don't need to do 30 minutes of him throwing up. You understand? It's bad. Yeah. And then they just cut. He looks like shit, and it's great. It just doesn't waste your time. It's just like.
Speaking of all of that, where's the Guns N' Roses movie?
Oh my god! See, that,
I want to see like when Slash he just died in an elevator like 3 times.
Any of those bands, Motley Crue, yeah, that like I would absolutely go see that because know it's gonna be.
Like I don't want to see someone who like slowly like their families are like, you have to get off the drugs and be like, you know. But it's like no, those guys were having a ball.
More drugs, please.
They did all of the drugs. Or like Ozzy, when like in 20 years when he dies, we'll have some great Ozzy movie of him like snorting like ants.
Yes.
You know, in like a pool of his own piss. Yes. Like it's gonna be incredible. It's like show me some people who actually know how to do drugs.
Yeah, that's right.
Like that.
But
they're not fucking around.
The Bee Gees movie. What's that? But anyway, sorry, back to Chris Farley film is that like I'm only optimistic because he is so protected and so beloved that like if they get one thing wrong, it will just tank. It'll just
it's being produced by Lorne Michaels for better or worse.
Yeah.
I guess he probably just owns the rights to Chris Farley.
And it'll be interesting too because even recently, like we've seen like writers and such and people who we worked with. His name is still out of my head. We better call Saul. Sorry, the actor who plays Saul it'll come back to me in a moment. But anyway, who is a great.
If you guys know, say it.
Yeah,
I forget.
I feel like an idiot. It'll come to me in a sec. But he was a great. He worked with Farley and wrote with him and such, and obviously David Spade.
I forgot he did.
And
Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk. Thank you. I don't know why that wasn't happening. He speaks about the most famous sketch is obviously the Chippendale sketch, and how they hated it because it's just making fun of how fat he is, and like and it was hard to read because it was like that's my favorite sketch of his. It's so funny, and it's like yes, he's in on the joke and he went 100%, but even then they were like, Chris, don't do this. Like we know why you're doing it. You know it's going to get a laugh, but just don't. Like this isn't you. You don't want to do this. And he did, and it crushed. And it's probably his biggest one. But like I think
that was the Patrick Swayze hosted.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
So yes, the whole bit is that he tries out for Chippendales against Patrick Swayze, who at that time was the hottest of the hot.
Yeah. So you see, obviously, you're sitting at a writers' meeting, and you see him standing next to Chris Farley.
Yes. You're like, wouldn't it be funny?
I think we can do something here.
Yes, if the obese guy jiggled his gut around for a while, and he does, and it's insanely funny because Chris Farley never went half-ass on anything. He always went full ass. But yeah, I think the movie's gonna be a lot of that, frankly. I think it's gonna be a lot of, I love this bit. And then you go, oh, it's sad actually. So I don't know, that might be a little rough. And we know how he goes down and we know.
He just like coked himself to death. Yeah, his heart exploded.
Yeah, there's Dana Carvey and David Spade have a podcast, which I didn't think I'd like, but I've grown up on SNL.
I've seen clips. It's not bad.
Yeah,
actually.
it's pretty dang good, and I think it works because David Spade gives Dana Carvey a lot of respect, which you wouldn't expect because he's David Spade.
Yeah,
but he understands that Carvey came first, and that he is the legacy, and he came next. And they both have lost good people, and especially David Spade. And he just said, to this day, people just come up to David Spade instead of saying like, hey, I love doing this, or they say, I'm sorry about Chris. So he literally gets reminded every day about Chris Farley, every day. So obviously it's still fresh with him. And like, there's someone also like he's going to make sure that movie's real good. Like they're not going to get it wrong. They have to get it right. And then find those moments that were worth telling, I guess, about who Chris Farley really was. But also they all tell the same stories as at the end, they just couldn't get him back. And he was just hanging out with all the wrong people. It's so sad. It's never
really sad.
It's rarely a guy just disappears on his own and then he dies. It's usually the people they're with who are doing all the things.
I'd like to see stuff like one of my favorite stories is the making of Tommy Boy.
Because I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I don't
know the story.
Him and David Spade, and it was like they were both on SNL, and they never really did too much together, but they had this great relationship, and like because David Spade's this dry humor, then he's this, so it's like very much like straight man and the kind of gesture. It's like very classic combo.
And if I may, it's kind of a mean thing that they do there on purpose at SNL is that they will pick the two most unlikely people and they put them in a room together. You get a writer's room with two people, and they'll just smash you in there, and that's happened many times. So it was like. Anyway, there's multiple combos that never would have happened, but that was like someone's like, where'd you put David Spade with Chris Farley? and that's how it happened.
Yeah, and he would just like Chris Farley. He just loved that. He'd really go up to David and be like, just make fun of me. Like, just make fun of me because I thought it was so funny. And then Lorne Michaels had like he always does these movies. Like he produced there's always like some little movie based on a skit, and he would do all those in the '90s because he had it was like an overall deal with Paramount, I think it was. And so it was one of those. He's like, let's give these guys a movie. Fuck it. And so the whole time, like, nobody thought it was going to be good. It's about going across the country selling brake pads, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And they were shooting in Canada, and so like they would do a few days there, and then like red eye it to do SNL. Like they were doing both at the same time.
Isn't that
and they were
crazy?
just losing their minds the
like,
entire time.
almost no money for any of it.
Yeah,
Like,
so
it was
the
under
whole time it's
contract.
just like them being like delusional, like the fat guy in the little coat. Like that's just some
Yes.
shit he would do at his
Yes.
hotel room at
Yes.
2 a.m. and just nobody paid attention to them or caring about the movie, and it's just them being just delusional and delirious
for a
rather.
great film, yeah. And I think to your point, I think that film didn't have a lot of script. I think it was exactly that of like, oh, let's do that bit that we do, that's kind of funny, and then then it became a movie somehow.
Yep, pretty much.
More of those, maybe not more of those. Does anyone want to see a Chris Farley movie? Is that a thing? Because I'm telling you, it's going to be sad. It's gonna have it's like when what's the new the wrestling movie that just came out?
Iron Claw.
Everyone's like, oh cool, it's a movie about wrestling. It's like, oh, you don't know who it's
Oh
about.
yeah.
I had so many friends who are like, it looks so fun, it looks awesome. They all look like they're huge.
I didn't see the movie, but I know the true story about that family. And I'm just like, Jesus.
Like,
I was like, this is going to be great.
It doesn't end well. It's not great. So similar, like Chris Farley, he's my favorite guy. This is gonna be such a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's probably
I highly recommend if you're interested in that at all, if you saw the Iron Claw or you're interested in the early days of wrestling and how bad that was, there's my favorite podcast, Behind the Bastards.
We've talked about this.
They do a
podcast.
4 or 5 part one on Vince McMahon. And it's so long because in addition to Vince McMahon, they also do it's essentially
Superfly Snuka.
It's like the whole thing's it's like a biography of wrestling as a whole, and so they talk about whatever those brothers are, I forget, but it's great.
What was her real name? I'm a person who always says I don't listen to podcasts, and I still think I don't, but I've listened to every episode on YouTube, so it doesn't count if it's on YouTube, right? In the background.
I wish they would turn a camera on for that damn show.
I do too. Behind the Bastards is a fantastic show. It's a novelist.
Fantastic. It is by far my favorite podcast.
I'll think of his name in a second, but anyway, I can't do names today.
I'm going to say Robert Evans. It's not right.
Robert Evans. It is Robert Evans because there's more than one Robert. That's kind of the joke. It's Robert Evans. It's Saturday. I'm hungover. I don't.
It's fine. I'm going to blast through some of this Paramount stuff. New installment of Scary Movie. What are they going to make fun of A24 horror movies?
Yes.
There's going to be a Hereditary spoof.
I hate that you're predicting everything bad thing that's going to happen. You're throwing out bad ideas, and they're all going to happen.
Yeah, basically.
No, you're absolutely
Probably,
right.
yeah.
It's all going to be A24 shit. It's going to be they'll get it in there just because they'll do.
They'll do a Midsummer thing.
They'll definitely do Midsummer. They'll definitely do Hereditary, and the whole joke about Hereditary is just that there's naked people in it, and that's funny. Yeah, boy. I've never been a
And in all fairness, I mean, like,
Sorry.
Like objectively, like if you suck, that sounds like a great idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like sure. It's like yeah, we're in a good period of horror, and if that's whenever that genre is at its peak, that's when you want to spoof it.
You're right.
Because it's like great. It's like people might be, or like right when you're hitting like the crest of it, and you're like people might be getting sick of it. That's the time to start making fun of it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's great, but it's just. I think Scary Movie only worked because of the time in which it came out. Like,
I agree.
Comedy's tough right now.
It was interesting too because they kind of shot Scary Movie obviously as a spoof, but they shot it like all the films of that time anyway, so it had that exact same vibe to it. Also, Anna Faris is an absolute treasure. So like, while I don't like the Scary Movie franchise, I really like Anna Faris, I think. But yeah, exactly. That is that they shot it close enough so there was clearly a spoof, but it also kind of looked like it, and that's why it worked. But then when the other really spoofy movies came out, they were all just like really terrible. They didn't even bother. They were just like, oh, it's funny because we did this one bit. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you called it. It's all going to be Blumhouse and A24. It's going to be mocking all that stuff. Fine. Okay, sure.
That's what it is. It'll be cringe. It's fine.
Yes. The clips are going to do great on TikTok.
They're remaking The Running Man with Edgar Wright and Glenn Powell. Sure.
Rewatching The Running Man, I loved that movie as a kid. Rewatching it, the budget is nothing. I didn't realize that. They do a really good job. Well, I don't know if they do a good job. When I was a kid, they did a good job of hiding their budget, but seeing it again, it's like, oh my God. It's like they have no budget whatsoever. They shoot in like 3 rooms. It's so weird how small that movie is. Yet another film, by the way, where our hero is just gross person, just literally just like sexually assaulting a woman, and then of course kisses her at the end, and they're in love. It's just so all of the movies of the 80s are that.
Oh, the 80s.
But
I mean, there's so many movies too. Like, I mean, that the whole genre like sci-fi is so bad with like Sexy Born Yesterday. You know that whole trope.
yes, oh god.
Yeah.
Well, it's
if you don't know what I'm talking
Born
about,
Sexy Yesterday.
it's Born Sexy Yesterday. Yeah, it's like Fifth Element is the classic example of that, where it's like this is a person who has a hot adult body but a child's mind.
Yeah, I'm a baby. Where there's a great takedown of all of that, and it is called Poor Things. And it just came out, and it's up for many Oscars, and it got Oscars. It is exactly the same trope ripped apart. Basically, what idiots men are around a Born Sexy Yesterday, and how gross that is, and how it blows up in their faces. Yes, but Fifth Element also, I just recently resaw at Alamo, and I'd never seen it on a big screen before, and it's cringe because it's Born Sexy Yesterday, but it's also holds up. This is her when she's passed out. She just puts a gun to his head, and the line is literally "never without my permission." And I'm like, yeah, nice, way to go. Even at the time, at least we can get some messaging in there. Nice. But sorry, back to Running Man. I really enjoy the concept of Running Man. I think it's one of those things where the spoof became reality, so it's not as spoofy, because it's basically just, at the time it was kind of like American Gladiator spoof. Sorry, the original book, by the way, is none of that. The original book, it was kind of like The Fugitive, but as a game show, where it was just like you were on the run and hunters would come and
right,
get you. I think it was a short story under his pen name, actually. And Stephen King is who wrote it. And then the movie came out. I think they took his name off the movie, by the way, because the movie has nothing to do with Stephen King's story. But I like the flash of it. I like the silliness, and like, yeah, that you're up against all these killers. They're going to take you out in a game show.
Also, I like that if they give it to Edgar Wright, it'll be different enough. It'll be his own thing enough that. Yeah. Because it's like the first question is like, does this merit a remake? Does the existence of this movie like need to be?
Yeah.
So if it's Edgar Wright, at least it'll be unique enough.
Which also leads to the point is that the movie is so far off from the book, from the short story, that like, does it matter? Like he can just make the story and it's an entirely different movie, or he can remake the movie and just change all the characters. Because the whole fun of it is like Dynamo, who's just a guy who sings opera and hits you with lightning. Like, it's insane. It's like Fortnite the movie. Like, so why not just go all in and do the silliest new stuff? I'm excited to see what he would do with the they have a name. It's not, I think it's the Hunters or something, but it's basically people that kill you on a game show. So I think in the right hands it could be really fun. I'm not as glib about this one as I am the other remakes.
Yeah, same. It sounds like that's a kind
of. And then I hold the original high. I really genuinely enjoyed Running Man, but I think a remake could be really fun.
Yeah, shocker. There's another remake coming out of CinemaCon.
No.
The Naked Gun.
That is a weird one with Liam Neeson, right?
Liam Neeson, who is not Leslie. I don't see that. Like, I understand that he can play straight man.
Yeah.
But I also don't consider him to be a particularly comedic actor. And I know he's done some comedy bits where he has to play the straight man in that way. And so it's like if you asked ChatGPT who would fit, it would make sense.
Yeah.
But realistically, I don't know, like if it's actually going to play.
I just realized, is that going to be the joke, that it's basically just like an anagram of Leslie Nielsen is Liam Neeson? Like, cast him just because his name kind of sounds like it? Is it going to be the joke of the movie? Like, I don't know what sounds like Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen. So Naked Gun movies are very old, but are very good. And he was on SNL only once, and the reason he was only on once was kind of explained in his opening monologue because it was perfect. Leslie Nielsen was a very serious actor for most of his life, and then he got cast in, I guess, Airplane was the first that started it, and then. No, wait, was he even in Airplane? No, he did Police Squad, the TV series. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. His opening monologue was, people ask me how I do comedy and how I'm such a great comedian. And he goes, well, I'll give you my here's how I do it, is that I used to work in drama. And he goes, so here's how I would do a scene as a police detective. I'm sorry, ma'am, your husband is dead. And he goes, and then as a comedy, I'm sorry, ma'am, your husband is dead. Like, that's the point. He literally never, that's why he's so funny, is because Frank Drebin in all those movies is dead serious. And that's why when he stopped doing Naked Gun movies and started, other producers were paying him to do movies, there's like a space one or something, and there's like the Repossessed, which is like the Exorcist spoof. They direct him to be silly, and it's bad. It's just bad. But Frank Drebin, the character of Police Squad / Naked Gun, is a cop. He's a straightforward cop who sucks at his job as a moron, but he doesn't know that, and that's why it works. That's why it's funny.
Well, it reminds me of like with Men in Black too. Like that works because it has the straight man kind of like goofy guy format, but the whole it was like pulling teeth the whole time for Barry Sonnenberg, I think the director's name.
No, that's a musician.
Sonnenfeld or something. Anyways,
yes, Barry.
But the whole like Tommy Lee Jones kept thinking he's like, I'm in a comedy, I'm gonna act funny.
Right.
And he's like, no, stop. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, just stop doing that. I'd be like, just be normal. And he literally didn't get it until he saw the movie.
Yeah. You got to Dan Aykroyd this thing.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd
well,
is
then
an
it's like if a director not forcing him to do that is how we get Two-Face.
Oh God, yes.
That's his Two-Face. Like it's like Two-Face. If he had played Two-Face straight next to Jim Carrey,
yes.
But he tried to Jim Carrey.
Yes. Oh yeah. And they hated each other. Yeah.
Talking about Batman and Robin, by the way.
Yeah.
Or no, Batman Forever.
Yeah.
Which I love, by the way.
Love is a strong. Yeah, it's fine.
It's not a good movie. But Val Kilmer fucks. He was a very underrated Batman, and as I understand it, the only reason he didn't do the next one and was George Clooney instead is because they told him you have to be sober, and he said, "Oh, why don't you go fuck yourself?" Actually,
hard pass.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna let some executive tell me to live my life.
I thought
good luck, douchebags.
I thought Val was a great Batman and a terrible Bruce Wayne. Just for me personally, because
he was a bad Bruce Wayne.
He walked in the room, he'd be like, "That guy's Batman."
He's trying to be like, it's because you have glasses on, doesn't mean you don't fuck.
Yes, yeah, right. That's just that he was too fucking cool as Bruce Wayne. Because like Keaton was great. You would never guess Michael Keaton is Batman. That was the whole point. That's why he was great. Yeah. That's why I loved him as that. But yeah, as soon as Bruce Wayne Val Kilmer walks in, you're like, oh yeah, no, that's Batman. I know who you are. You're Batman. But yeah, sorry. To your point, is that Naked Gun and such, as long as, and I mean, look, Liam Neeson plays it straight. I feel like we've seen him do comedy. He was in Atlanta.
So he did in like an episode of like, was it like UK Office or UK Extras or
Extras?
Something.
That was,
it was
Extras,
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 right?
definitely. Yeah. They got there.
Where he played himself and how he wanted to get into comedy, but he played it like he was like super hardcore about it. So it's stuff like that. And then he had a seat in Ted 2, was it?
Sure.
The cereal thing.
Probably. I'll take your word for it.
Oh yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about.
I'm not a Seth MacFarlane person. No, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Your favorite movie is Joker. You love Seth MacFarlane. You love Family Guy. You love everything. It's fine. No, but in the series Atlanta, he made an appearance which was totally out of left field because it was right after his controversy where he told a reporter this lengthy story about how like a friend was attacked or something, and then he blamed an African-American man or something.
Super weird story, yeah.
So weird and so unnecessary to tell. And then he shows up on Atlanta and literally just addresses it directly as a joke. And it was like, I can't remember the whole bit, but it was just, he's just like, hey man, are you sure you should be here? He's like, yeah, I'm kind of in hot water with like the community right now, so I gotta like do this. He's like, but it's cool. But he really, I mean,
I wonder if that's like his PR, like made a list of like African-American centric shows that he can make an appearance on.
The real credit is to Donald Glover for letting him do it, basically. But it was genuinely surprising.
I know why we got the phone call, but the fact that we got the phone call, we should probably just take this.
Yeah.
Probably just make this work.
But he makes a meal of it, and it's a very short appearance, but it's very good. And I definitely logged it as like, oh, he can do comedy, I guess, but he was just playing himself. He was just playing it straight. So, yeah, I don't know. I here's the question.
One of things like, sure, whatever.
Naked Gun played out even because it was even based on an old TV show no one watched called Police Squad, and the movies similarly were just very silly. And start O.J. Simpson were very silly, and but even their police procedure stuff was very like old timey dragnet nonsense. Even for a modern movie at that time, it was old timey on purpose. It was a cartoon silly world. So I wonder now what that looks like. What is Naked Gun now? Does it look? Is the joke that it looks like Law and Order? Is the joke, that's an old timey police procedural again, and everyone's silly? I don't know. I don't know what the joke is.
I feel like there hasn't been a lot of like evolution of that procedural format, so it's kind of just more of the same.
Yeah, right? You're right. It doesn't change much. You're right.
Yeah. It's kind of the point of like legal procedurals too. It's like it's just like how much can you build on that, because it is the vocation.
Yeah, you're right. Everything kind of, because there was a time when like everything looked like X-Files for like 10 years, and then everything looked like what NYPD Blue or whatever, the shaky cam, and then everything looked like this. But yeah, you're right. Like Law and Order has never changed, and like all those procedurals have always looked exactly the same.
Yeah. It's like NCIS or whatever.
It's
like
they're all the same.
Yeah,
you're
like,
right.
It's just it's done as cheap as possible, but still cinematic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, if you ever want to see like how to film like a scene really economically with like as few shots or as few setups as possible. If you watch like an old episode of Law and Order, they do an amazing job of like doing an entire scene with like decent coverage, and I'm like, they only had the camera in 2 spots, and they just do like good deep focus master moving the people around.
Yeah, fast and efficient, always moving. You always have to be moving. When the police interview you, you have to be stacking boxes or something. Yeah.
Stacking boxes.
But that's, I guess my question is, in a new Naked Gun, is there ever the dark room that's been smoked with computers and everyone looking at a screen? Because the Naked Gun movies never had that. It was always a very silly cartoon Toontown world of crime in broad daylight. So I'm wondering if if it's gonna look like Mission Impossible or if it's gonna look like Toontown. I'm just curious. Like, we'll see how it goes.
It's funny. I keep thinking about that. It was like the roast of James Franco or something where Bill Hader was doing a bit as like the president of Hollywood, like a tracksuit and all of that, and he was talking to Andy Samberg. He was just like, it was before Brooklyn Nine-Nine came out. She was just like, oh, see your new show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's like funny cops. You're always pushing the envelope. It's like, yeah, it's like we've seen lots of that. I don't know.
And to that show's credit, I definitely thought it was. I had my podcast with Aaron Pruner about TV when that show came out. We're like, this is not a good idea. Like crime and cops. I don't want to hear about cops that are funny. And they did it. And we joked. We're like, oh, so it'll be like a murder, and then make a joke. Yeah, and it worked for many seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe there's.
Yeah, they made that. Bill Hader made that same joke. Actually, and I think it was just like what's gonna happen when they got to deal with a rape? It's like, oh, Andy Samberg's like, I dropped the rape kit. Doink.
But yeah, to that end, maybe that is the template. Maybe Brooklyn Nine-Nine is Naked Gun. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, again, it's like procedural, so it's like if that format hasn't changed, then the parody of it can't change that much. Yep. All you can do is like Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a good comedy, but if you changed the setting to anything else, like what makes it funny would still be there.
Yeah.
Because it's about those characters and the interactions of it, and it's like the rest is just a backdrop.
Yeah, and I think actually, Naked Gun was almost more similar to like the Austin Powers movies, except the flip was that Austin was the big idiot, and most people were kind of straight around him, whereas Leslie Nielsen was the straight man who was also an idiot, and then everyone was silly around him. So yeah, I think but it was also kind of a pretend world where like it was a little brighter and more cartoony. That could work. Yeah.
Well, I guess on the semi-comedy topic, new musical from Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park.
Oh, that'll never work. They're bad at everything.
Kendrick Lamar.
That's amazing.
I don't know why.
It's going to do great. Hi, Elizabeth.
I wonder where they met.
That's a great question. I mean, I will never count out Matt and Trey. They knock it out of the park. They win every time.
I remember they started a movie like a movie studio to. Movie studio. They started a production company to fart out a bunch of stuff. So I've been waiting for them to make. I thought their very first thing was going to be the movie version of Book of Mormon. Where the hell is that?
Great question. I mean, like, yeah, just put Josh Gad back in it. Like, so many people came from it. Like, why didn't they ever just make it? That's a great question.
Just like,
I don't know.
Like how you can watch like Hamilton. You know, it's just like get that to a bigger audience. I don't know why not.
We might have the answer though. Like, would a studio touch the Book of Mormon? Like, no one wanted to make Dogma, and that was like 24 years ago or something.
It won it won all the Tonys.
I'm aware.
It'd be like it's not a risk when everyone already accepted it.
Yeah,
it's like there's no risk on it. Be like, everybody already endorsed this.
Yeah,
it's not an us thing.
What was the other one that won? It was like Piss Town or something. There's something with Pistons. Also, they're not going to make a movie of that. There's like, the entire Book of Mormon is about AIDS and religion, and like, yeah, I could see how studios would be
but
like,
even if they, I don't know why they didn't just put out the recording of it like as a film like they did with Hamilton.
Hamilton did, yes. I agree. That doesn't make sense. I don't know why they haven't done that. That's just money in the bank. But yeah,
again, it's not even its own thing. It would, regardless of even if they filmed it as a straight up like comedy musical, it would still be ancillary because it's something it's already been done and everybody bought in and everybody already liked it. Like, it's just extra.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm sorry. I did the thing you're never supposed to do. I'm reading the chat. I know you're not supposed
to read the chat. No, that's one of the weird things. Is like I like reading chat when I'm alone, and then I don't do it because we're talking.
I have a friend up there said hi, and then but I was trying to see someone.
No, I like being able to read chat. I think we've just been on tangents.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
Well, here, you read chat while I tell another very short story.
Fabulous.
I'm from Colorado. This will age me by a little bit, but I was going to theater school. I was just starting college, and I was working
You're
at
a theater kid. I'm
I was
shocked.
shocking, right?
Shocked.
I was working at a health club in Evergreen, Colorado, and I was this
Health club? Is that like a
towel
bathhouse? What
guy.
does that mean?
Yes, it's similar.
All right.
And people would come to work out there. What else do you call them? A gym. I worked at a gym. But you did aerobics back then more than you anyway. You know, I'm going into college.
Jazzercise and whatnot.
So one of my coworkers is like, "Hey, you're an actor, right? My friends are doing their college project and they're shooting this weekend in the mountains. If you want to come be in it."
Story about how you were in Cannibal the Musical.
So I said, yeah, I can't really do stuff like that right now because I'm kind of like going to like, I'm sorry, actually this story is wrong. I'm out of college. I'm going to LA. I'm like, I'm going to LA to kind of be an actor. So I can't really like do like the student projects anymore. So I
Shot going to LA.
So my friend Kirk is just like, come on, just do it. I'm like, nah, I don't really want to go to the mountains and not get paid and just like be in like a student project. That doesn't sound fun to me. I'm going to go to LA, big actor. So I came out here. Of course, I became a huge fan of South Park. There's a lot of jokes in South Park for people just who live in Colorado. And fanatical about Trey and Matt. I went to Comic-Con one year. I went to the Troma booth and I bought the $60 tape of Cannibal the Musical from Lloyd Kaufman running the booth at Troma. And I went home and I popped it in. My friend Kirk is in the first scene, and I'm like, I know that guy, son of a bitch. So the answer to your question is yes, Morgan. I was supposed to be in Cannibal the Musical, but I was too much of a fucking idiot. It was like, nah, man, I'm gonna go be a big famous actor.
What a
I would have been buds with Matt and Trey day one. Yeah, never met him. Very talented man.
That would have been such a nice IMDb credit.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a very true story. My friend Kirk is in Cannibal, and he did a great job, and that would have been me standing next to him. Big idiot. So take any opportunity. If a friend says,
Also, go watch that if you haven't seen it.
Cannibal, it's great.
Terrible, yeah.
If a friend says, hey, why don't you come over and do a thing for free for me? Even if it's Saturday and you might be really hungover. Just do it. Just do it. And that's why I'm here. And then you get to pet cats.
We're gonna knock out. There's the one other big thing I wanted to talk about is that the Jon Snow spin-off is apparently dead.
I know this is important to you.
Which is, I mean, fucking figures. Basically, they asked Kid Harington. He's like, yeah, it's not happening. Not happening anytime soon anyway. We bounced some ideas around and not really lit us up. It just didn't. Blah 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 blah. Let's be real. Like, House of the Dragon works because it's a prequel and it doesn't build on the terrible ending of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
A Jon Snow show would be building off that terrible ending. It would be an uphill battle, especially when we don't even have the fucking last book yet to understand what like really happens.
Yeah. Do you think that book's happening? Let's be honest with ourselves.
He said he's like 3/4 of the way through it.
All right. If you look at the time period between his
now
books,
that last quarter could take 10 years. I don't know.
Not a young man, not a healthy man.
I remember he did some sit-down thing in New York with Stephen King, and he was just like, I have one question for you. How the fuck do you write so fast?
I feel like every author asks Stephen King that specifically.
He's like, oh, if I get like 6 pages done a day, I'm good. And he's like, dude, if I get like a paragraph done a week,
King is one of those obnoxious people. Like, I've read all of his books about writing, too, and it's just like, I can't help it.
I've got on writing. See, I've got on writing here, too. I love that book. It's a great book.
Only Stephen King could write a book about writing and have a twist in the third act of the book. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but there is genuinely, it happens in his real life, and there's a twist. He's like, oh, hey, this just happened in my life, and now the book is this.
Yeah, basically, he's just like, the first half of it is him going, this isn't a memoir, but, and then here's a bunch of personal information about me. And then after that, he's like, okay, here's a bunch of really pragmatic advice about writing.
Yeah, but there's a general like life event that comes into it that there's a third act twist in a book just about how to write. But sorry, to that end, I agree.
Like, this isn't a memoir, but this is the story about like the bloodied cocaine spoons laying around my office.
Yes. I think we as a entertainment consuming community just don't want anything that came out of it. I personally have never, this is anecdotal, but I've never been so into a property and then dropped it so fast. I have cosplayed from Game of Thrones. I had a Jaime Lannister cosplay. I had the gold hand that I made myself. I watched it every night or every week like everyone did. It was the last appointment television show that existed. That's why I no longer have a podcast about television, because now you can just watch anything whenever. Yep. But if you didn't watch Game of Thrones, and in fact, the closest I've seen recently is actually X-Men '97, where it's just like, I don't want to spoil what happened, which is great for like a 22-minute cartoon.
Well, to I wish Fallout would come out episodically. Like I wish
I'm back to episodic.
I was actually bummed out when I saw I can watch the whole thing. I was like,
I did the same thing. I'm back to episodic now. They've gotten me back. I don't even know which show did it, but I guess it would technically be Disney Plus. Got me back to waiting for something and then seeing.
Yeah, they were kind of the first ones to be like, okay, we're gonna pace this up.
Yeah. And then and now I think I'm back to it, but not for Disney Plus shows anymore. But anyway, long story short,
it makes sense from a marketing perspective, especially because then it's like if you farted out, then great, you just spent all this time and money and made 10 hours of content, and there's one moment of marketing beat around it. Whereas you can own like an entire quarter by putting these things out episodically, and then everyone's writing articles about it, and content creators are making recaps, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. I don't know. I actually don't know what the benefit is for a studio or a distributor to put something out to binge, other than it just being a necessity as a response to consumer habits.
Yeah, I mean,
like if you have to do it that way, then okay.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like I would never want to do it that way.
That was Netflix's first move. That was a strategy to make you just not get off your couch, and it absolutely worked. But now I'm kind of back to I kind of want the weekly stuff.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things like I gotta do laundry, man.
Yeah,
it's like
it's
like here with the Fallout thing. It's like I like this show. Now I'm stressed out about when I'm gonna be able to finish it.
Because you're gonna get spoiled. Because it's already.
I don't even know if I will. There's always that risk, but I don't care too much because I have a bad memory, so I'll forget.
But just memento it. Is that what your tattoos are?
Memento.
Is it to remind you what happened?
The plot of
I'm an elf, and I need I need some pizza. I like pizza. I'm an elf, and I'm older. I'm 30. Each one is it? No,
basically,
that's not.
Right.
I'm trying to decipher.
I should create a really elaborate story about attacked by a bear, lost at sea.
Yes.
I don't know.
Not that, and that's every morning you wake up and you go, okay, I guess that's me. Again, anecdotal, but I feel like we were all told for this show that we collectively as I didn't like Game of Thrones when it came out personally. It took me a while to get into it, and then it
was slow, and we weren't used to. That amount of talking in rooms.
Yeah, well, and also
and names that nobody could figure out,
and also just the brutality of all of it, which we kept being told, oh, it's worth it for the story. Like, oh, sure, there's horrific incest and rape, but no, but it builds on the story. You need to watch these horrific scenes of assault because it's going to mean something in the end. And you're like, okay.
Well, and now that it's
oh, whoops, no,
it's
you just watch horrible things.
Yeah, it's actually kind of wild how commonplace it is now. Like even in the first episode of the Fallout show, I'm like, that is gore.
Yeah.
Damn.
And gore is one thing.
I was like, the game is not this gore. Like this is a response to like the meta of like drama series right now.
And it's like killing a main character is fine. The gore, it's the storyline of sexual assault develops your character, like that the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo that I genuinely think we're finally away from. And I think The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a very good book and a very good film. I never want to watch it again.
It is a tough read.
Yeah,
the Swedish gentleman who wrote that book is very, very old.
I didn't know that.
Very, very old, and that's why it's a little slow.
Yeah, it's a little slow. But most of the female characters in Game of Thrones are tempered through assault. And we're told that that's important storytelling and just write it out. It's going to make sense later. It doesn't, and it didn't need to happen. What was the point? And just all of it was just suffering for suffering's sake. And then two guys who were like, oh, we got Star Wars later, and just tanked it and did not care.
Yeah, in case you're wondering,
and then ironically lost Star Wars because of it.
Well, no, here's my thing is I think the whole thing is like they should have had an extra season. They didn't do the extra season because D&D wanted to leave. And I think it was smart to do that also because they didn't have a book to go off of. So then they were left to their own devices. And then looking back now to interviews, it does seem like they accidentally made a good show by having a lot of good people around them.
The casting too is amazing.
And their whole thing was basically just like, we know what the fuck we're doing. Like there's interviews with them from like season 1, season 2, where they're just like, I don't know, fucking know.
Yeah.
And they just fell into it some fucking how, and they hired all the right people, and it was great source material. Then the second they were off the source material, it tanked.
There you go. I mean, they had a good book to follow, right? That's why it was also good. Yeah.
Then their whole thing was like George R. R. Martin's like, this is where it's going to end. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but you guys got to get there somehow. Yeah. And then they got there very poorly. And I don't even know if George R. R. Martin can get us to a place where it'll make sense. But my point being is then they wanted to immediately take the success of Game of Thrones and parlay that into something, and they got their Star Wars trilogy. And then I think that they used that to then, because it's like, they were gonna fuck that up too.
Of course
They're gonna fuck that up too. But they used that deal as like a way to get a better deal at Netflix, because then they ended up getting an overall deal at Netflix. And I don't know where any of those projects are, because that was like 10 years ago.
Do you remember what their next HBO show is going to be?
No.
It was going to be a show where slavery never ended. That was the two white guy writers. That was going to be their next show, and HBO was excited about it. They're like, "Oh, it's going to be a really gripping story about America where slavery still exists." That was their show.
Was that like, maybe it was like, that was kind of when we had like Man in a High Castle or whatever. Is that like one of those things where it's like, oh, there was just a show about how like, what if Nazis still like were around? Like, what if we just do that with slavery?
It's the next most horrific, controversial idea. Yeah, no, that's the real thing that was going to happen. Yeah, and so I guess I took it personally. I was just like, you assured me you were doing these things for a reason. You didn't. You tanked the show. I bought stuff, man. I bought stuff, and now I don't want the stuff anymore. I don't want the Funkos anymore. I'm out.
Yeah,
faster than anything I've been with anything.
I think I might have just tossed it, or maybe I gave it to somebody. But I had a Mondo poster.
Yeah.
From Game of Thrones, and I just never did anything with it because I'm like, I don't care anymore.
I think I lost an actual friendship for someone spoiling Game of Thrones early, and I was just like, what? Because they didn't like the show. And there's like online, it was probably on Facebook and stuff. It was just like, oh, this thing happened, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's been out for an hour. They're like, it's a piece of shit show anyway. I'm like, fuck you. I think I literally lost a friend. I was that into the show, and then to have it mean nothing. Look, entertainment shouldn't define your life anyway, but
it really sucks. It's like you could write books about how what a cultural phenomenon it was, and then how it's crazy that it could be fumbled so badly that now I have like no fond memories of the show.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah,
and that was like 5 years of our lives.
We bought stuff. We bought a lot of stuff. Look, not to go too far.
I almost got it to like, there were Comic-Con experiences. There was a thing where you could get a tattoo for free. I almost did that.
And not to go too far, no, but like I had Lannister merch and I had Slytherin merch, and for obvious reasons, my Slytherin merch is also now gone away in time, and that's fine if yours is not. You can absolutely
Slytherin Lannister merch. You would have been a Nazi. Jesus.
Look at me.
Yeah, Christ.
Anytime a show comes out with a bad guy, people are like, you kind of look like that one bad guy.
That haircut's a little triggering,
thanks.
actually. Yeah.
I know. It's not. It's the only look that looks fine. At any rate, but what I'm saying is that
how Germanic we look as people.
Yes, we are the whitest of the whitest. But I got rid of the Game of Thrones stuff instantly. It was just like over it. Whereas it was like, okay, but look. JK's very troubling and like blah, blah, blah. Obviously I don't have that anymore, but it was a harder fight for me to like but the movies are good, and the things, but it was Game of Thrones is just like out of my life forever. I don't even remember what I liked about it, and I know I liked it. I know those actors.
Well, and it's like a lot of the stuff I just like, it was like traumatizing to watch. Like I really a lot of that stuff like I think about it, and it's like and it's like I suffered through all of that, and then you fumbled it, and now I'm like, it's just like,
also,
god damn it, I suffered.
Justice for Amelia Clarke. Khaleesi gets that show, hottest actress there is. Then she gets the Star Wars Solo movie. Ugh. Then she gets the MCU Nick Fury show. Justice for her, man. Give her a good job.
I know. She needs something good.
She deserves it.
I like her.
So much.
Yeah.
She's so good. I swear she's an actress.
I at least just hope that she has enough Game of Thrones money that she can just never have to ever do anything ever again. Which I'm assuming is the case, but
just give her something good, please. She deserves a good movie or show. And
that's one of those things. It's like she's making all the right career moves. Like her people, like they're like everything on paper is exactly the right thing to do. It's just a matter of like, she did a Star Wars thing, but the script wasn't good.
Yeah, her agent's like, I got you Star Wars.
That wasn't good.
That didn't work. I got you MCU. Okay.
Yeah, it's like she's coming into these.
What's the worst one?
Yeah, she's coming into these like knock it out of the park, like home run franchises. When they're like floundering.
Exactly. Well, and also like, I'm sure that the original idea put on the plate is like, oh yeah, hell yeah, and then when it gets to time to do it, then you're in Madam Web.
It's like we're gonna get you in Star Wars and Marvel. Like, all right, and make you a star.
Justice for Amelia Clarke. She deserves a good project.
She does.
It's not fair that she's exactly. Her agent has gotten multiple raises and yet it's just not working out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All of her people making 10% are they're having great times on their. Yeah, their boats are huge, but and she's sitting there like looking at her projects like on her shelf.
It seems so bankable.
God damn it. Also, you know what? I'll just say really fast. I kind of liked the Solo movie. I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it.
I wish that they hadn't been cowards about it, because I do agree that with the original directors like Lord and Phillips or whatever, that it is
without question.
it is a comedic character.
I would,
and they should have leaned more into it, and I would have loved it if it was more of a buddy cop thing with him and Chewie.
if multiverses are real, there's 2 movies I have to see: Edgar Wright's Ant-Man, and Lord and Miller's Solo.
And the fact that it is like half an Edgar Wright movie too, like they left enough visual stuff that you're like, if you just gone like
yeah.
if you'd gone like full Bush with this, it would have been so much better.
Good.
Yeah.
So
I like the Ant-Man just fine, but it's like when you say Edgar Wright, it's like
I think
there were so many parts in it, like the fast talking recap shit. I was like, that would have been such a better montage had it been directed by.
Yes, I agree.
Like the mundane montage is his signature.
Would have been so good. And by the way, I've seen all 3 Ant-Man movies. And do you know what I never needed to see? All 3 Ant-Man movies. Do you know my favorite actors? Paul Rudd. But I've now it's almost like the Game of Thrones things. It's like, you assured me I needed to watch all 3 of these movies for things to make sense. I never did. Yeah. His roles in Civil War and Endgame explain everything you need to know about Ant-Man.
Yeah, he's just like, oh hey guys, I'm Ant-Man. Remember from the Thing? Like, no, okay, cool. Like,
Also,
right,
way to include the Wasp. You know my favorite scene with the Wasp in all the 3 Ant-Man movies? I have no idea. I can't remember a single thing she's done because they never gave her anything to do. You know my favorite line that Evangeline Lilly had? I have no idea.
I love Evangeline Lilly.
I do too.
But yeah,
I couldn't tell you a thing she did. That's not her fault at all. Like, they just put her in the movies and then nothing happens. It's so depressing.
I mean, kind of same thing with like her in the Hobbit movies. It's like that they invented that character because they needed to fill a third
like
movie.
Elf. Great casting. She's a great actress, but what are you doing? What are we doing here?
Yeah, it's like
there was speaking of Solo,
inconsequential.
I promise I'll stop talking about Solo. But there was, I think it was Mr. Sunday Movies is a site I follow that's really good. It's 2 Australian guys who talk about film, but they put it best as they said, if the movie Solo was a movie called Gleep Glorp the Spaceman, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah, if you don't think of it as
and make it a movie.
Yeah, if you don't think of it as being Han Solo, then it's a very fun movie.
It would have crushed it. I genuinely believe it would have done amazingly, because what's weird about that too, and I'm sorry, I think it was another YouTuber that said, because they were talking about how toyetic Star Wars is, and the whole point is you show all the robots, you'll buy the robots. Why pass up an opportunity to make a new guy at a time when people wanted new stuff? I mean, I get it. I know what the studios were doing. I know we have 9 Ghostbusters now that no one wants. I get it. It's not working, but I get it. It's safe.
This new Ghostbusters thing with like the ice thing, like what a hat on a hat. I refuse to see it. Refuse.
I just have no. I'm at the point now. Like when the last Indiana Jones trailer came on, my wife just looks at me. She goes, "This is for you. This is exactly you. I know you obsessed over this character as a child. You dressed up as him for no reason, just to go to the mall. You are the age group." And I was like, I don't want it. I have zero interest in this. Yep. This is not for me. I don't want it. It's supposed to be. But yeah, but to that, I think that Solo, if it had just been Jimmy the Spaceman, it would have crushed. It would have been so, I'd be like, there's a whole new Star Wars universe to be excited about. What a cool story. It's a heist. It's great.
I know. And it was always going to be an uphill battle because it's such an iconic character. And
yeah. Sell a toy of a new guy or alien.
And there is no like I would only make that if there was someone who's so obviously like, oh well, that's our new Harrison Ford. Yeah. Like within the landscape of movies, like that actor is exactly that. But we don't have that, and he wasn't. And they tried to give him a fucking acting coach in the middle of shooting to make him more Harrison Ford like.
You know, the next most confusing thing to me is that the character Cal Kestis is not on any live action anything from Star Wars. That's the character from the Jedi.
We all thought that was going to happen, right? I feel like we all thought that was going to happen. It's like it would be so easy to, because we have stuff
for Grogu that should have been Cal Kestis, and then put Grogu in the next game and make $40 billion.
Yeah, and if you're not playing the Jedi games like Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, you're missing out on some of the best RPGs coming out right now. And easily some of the best Star Wars games are incredible.
There's a last act reveal that I literally, like, 1 a.m, like, my wife was asleep on the couch and I, like, yelped and woke her up on accident. I'm not going to say what it is, but you can find it on YouTube, but, like, there's a reveal. But anyway.
Very, very good
But they cast a human being who's a good actor, you know, from everyone's favorite show, Gotham. And he's Cal Kestis, and they're not putting him in. It's so weird. He's not in any live action Star Wars stuff. The guy's
it would be
right
so
there.
Easy, yeah. Because it's like perfect photo scan him into the game of that actor.
And in Mando season 2, and it's just like someone's coming to get the baby. I'm like, it's Cal.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, we all look like,
then the second
like it's like the timeline. It's he's there.
We'll have-
He's over here somewhere.
Then you get to make a Grogu video game and you make $1 billion $1,000,000. And they didn't do it. I don't understand the thought process. That was such easy money.
Well, it's like one of those things. Like, I don't know why, for God's sake, they won't make a Batman Beyond movie.
I don't either. I feel like, and I feel
they started working on it and then canceled it.
Yeah, I feel like
they have started and dropped it several times. I don't know why.
It can't be a rights thing, because if it's Batman, it's
no,
Batman.
not the rights, because they've been working on it. It just keeps getting dropped. I think it's just one of those things like it almost gets made and then something happens.
Yeah.
Because every time. Like the way it works with the studio system is every time stuff is in development, there's like a stack of stuff going on, and then there'll be a new executive will come in and take over the studio. Now all that stuff has to go in the trash. Yeah. Because if it's good, they're gonna say it was the previous person's win, and if it's bad, it's still your problem. Yep. But it's someone else made you have this bad thing. So you just clear your schedule. So a lot of great movies or potentially great movies have fallen by the wayside because of that, and that's another reason why it's almost a miracle that any movie gets made. True. And why it takes 10 years to make a movie. Also true. From inception to it coming out, it takes about 10 years.
If you I follow a lot of YouTube stories that are basically video game and movie disasters. There's another podcast called It Was a Shit Show that's about movie disasters, and it's so great, just all the backstories. And then there's What Happened, which is Matt McMuscles, who does video game stuff. Every single time it's studio interference. It just is. Every movie that's
like
bad.
This is if you are interested in video game stories, there's this great book called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. That's every chapter is a different story about how insane the development of like Uncharted 2 was. Yeah. Or and
it's always developers.
Sorry,
it's not developers. It's always the studio heads who, and there's always crunch, which is working far too much overnights and stuff, especially in gaming. But it's always that. It's literally always that. There's never a case of like, and then the production studio really helped out by coming up with a great idea and made the movie better. Like it's just never happened. Nope. It's the whole by committee thing is so frustrating. There's still a lot of very good movies out there. And look, that 4 million people had their hands on the movie Barbie, and it was good. It was very good, in fact. So there are examples where it can work.
Well, that's actually kind of interesting because I remember seeing a bunch of interviews with Margot Robbie talking about how like she was kind of shocked how cool they were with a lot of the stuff they wanted to do.
I mean, the whole movie goes after Mattel, like
they were like directly. Yeah, she was like, I'm surprised they just like were shockingly cool about this.
And
if they hadn't been, the whole thing could have not worked.
Yeah, that shot in the boardroom of Mattel where you literally see the Hollywood sign and then the studio and Warner Brothers, the Warner Brothers sign, as they're physically putting a woman in a box. Like it's amazing that they let them do any of that. It's like the Doctor Strangelove scene. It's like, okay, like I guess do you understand we're making fun of you? Like,
yeah, it was lucky, but again, I think it's like maybe it worked because they fucked off.
I guess, yeah.
By some miracle, they fucked off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably just that. They're just like, we're making a Barbie movie. Okay, whatever. Honestly, my only critique of that entire film was casting Will Ferrell as basically his exact same character from the Lego Movie meant that I'm just thinking of the Lego Movie sometimes. Like he was Mr. Lord Business. He was just the exact same character. But I mean, Will Ferrell doesn't have range, to be fair. I love Will Ferrell, but he was kind of my own. But he was great.
That's the thing. It's like you watch his SNL audition and be like, oh, he's doing that today still.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. If I just showed my wife that recently. Will Ferrell's SNL edition. The beginning is Harry Carey. It's very funny. Then there's the get off the shed. There's one other that's okay. And then his last bit is the cat toy one.
The cat toy one is the best.
Did not translate into a sketch very well. If you watch the sketch, it's meh. But his audition with the cat toys is one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen.
And it's a really smart choice for an audition too. Because like this is like it's silent comedy.
Yes.
It has like the straight man element of him being like hold my calls kind of thing. And then shows that he has like decent pantomime. It's like that's exactly what that style of comedy needs, and the kind of like it's a range of what you need to be able to bring to all those skits in SNL. It was really smart. Again, it's like it's on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Observation: the way that he plays a cat. The way that he just like.
Yeah, it's like he saw that, understands what makes it funny.
Yes, I agree.
They figured out a way to package it.
Yes, I feel like his audition was going pretty good, and then that happens. It's like, oh, this guy's in. Like, we gotta hire this guy.
Amazing.
Wow, way off track. What were we talking about?
Fine now.
Monopoly. It's gonna be a great movie. Starring Will Ferrell as the Hat.
Oh my God. I genuinely don't know. It has to be like they have to knock capitalism, and it has to be about real estate moguls in some capacity.
Yeah, it's gonna be Wolf of Wall Street, but with like flipping houses, right?
I guess. What if it's just a commentary on like all the like like YouTubers and stuff who like try to teach you how to like flip houses.
That can be interesting.
No, couldn't
No,
be
that's the new
terrible.
Blair Witch movie.
Stupid. Yeah.
And then they get a spooky house.
Stupid. Yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, our lives are led by what is the next entertainment thing we're looking forward to. So what's coming up? Is there anything you got? I'm trying to think if I do right now. If there's anything, I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this thing that's coming. There's like a video game.
I'm jaded enough to not look forward to things. Frankly, I don't know.
Morgan, that can't be true.
I was not. I like being pleasantly surprised. Like I didn't care about the Fallout thing, and now it's happening, and I'm loving it. So I'm gonna go hardcore into that. There's a couple movies coming out soon. You know what? I'll tell you what I'm actually excited about.
Yeah.
There's a couple movies that I love that are coming back in the theaters.
Oh, okay.
The Mummy 25th anniversary.
Wait, what? Go on.
It's putting it back in theaters, so you get to see the Mummy in theaters.
I have the full Rick O'Connell costume. I'm wearing it.
Exactly,
Okay, great.
And then later in the end of the month, they're doing the
better.
anniversary of Spider-Man, and all the Spider-Man movies are coming back in
The Raimi ones?
yeah, the originals. The
Hell yeah. Oh man, seeing that in a theater are gonna be so cool.
But yeah.
Okay.
That's one of those ones where it's like I've talked to enough people now where I'm like none of you've seen Spider-Man 2? Be like, we're going.
I mean, yeah.
And it'd be like I gotta like
holds up.
stack. I gotta like bring people and then find a way to ditch them quickly so I can get another friend into the screening immediately following that one.
Spider-Man 2 is so good. I have a cringe plug for something from over 20 years ago. Anyway, go to YouTube and type "Was Spider-Man Happen in LA?" I did it. I was so inspired by Spider-Man 2 that my friends and I made a sketch.
Oh yeah, Hellblade 2, May 21st. Fuck yeah.
Hellblade 2. What's Hellblade 2? What's Hellblade?
Oh, Hellblade is it's a game, Xbox original game. It's kind of like Viking-esque, but it focuses on, it's like an embodiment of psychosis. It's very interesting. They won a bunch of awards for it.
Oh, duh. Yes, the Heavy Rain, not Heavy Rain. The the amazing facial. Yes. Gotcha.
So that's the follow-up to that's coming out. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, they had one of the first PlayStation 2, the one where the controllers with the Y-axis, and it was Heavenly Sword, which was such a janky game, but had some of the best characters I've ever seen in a video game in my life. The voice acting, like they got it immediately. That was one of those games. Even back then, you're like, oh, it was like PlayStation 3. It must have been the 3. And you're like, oh, this is games now. Like this, they've changed the game with this, and that studio's amazing. I didn't realize they were doing it too. Actually, I'm embarrassed I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, they put out a pretty decent trailer. There's a lot of gameplay. It looks pretty good.
I'm embarrassed because I don't remember the name of the game. There's a game that's been it's taken I think over 10 years to make, and it's all hand stop motion claymation. And
it's a game.
It's a man's first name and then a fish. I want to say I'll look it up while you're talking, but it's coming out in the next like 5 days, and it's literally just it's an indie game, and it's all hand animated with clay, and it's gorgeous. It looks like in Wes Anderson movies where he'll cut to his stop motion, like far out stop motion stuff. It looks almost exactly like that, and it looks amazing. It looks so good, and it's coming out very soon.
Interesting. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the Sandman season 2. I never watched that.
I didn't get through 1. I'm a terrible person. I loved the comics growing up, and I didn't like it. I wasn't into it. It was too much at once. I was like, I know that character. There's Cain, there's Abel, there's Gregory the Dragon. That's cool. Blah, blah, blah. It was so CG.
Oh, I'm looking forward to Daredevil coming back.
I want to be, but then I saw She-Hulk. Do you know the best live action thing that's happened in like 5 years? Maybe 10? One Piece. If you haven't watched One Piece on Netflix, just fix it.
I've heard.
Just fix it. Just fix it. Just go see it. I'm not. I was, as a weeb my whole life. I've always been in the shadow of One Piece. I know what One Piece is. I've read some of the manga. It wasn't for me. Watched some of the show. Fox Kid or the 4Kids wasn't for me. Just couldn't get into it. The live action within the first 10 minutes, you're like, huh, wait, are they going to pull this off? I don't know how they did it, but they got cartoon and real life, and it's just smart. It's just like kind of a dark, it's almost one of the openers. I think it's the opener of Pirates 2, almost exactly, with like people being killed in the public square. But then one person has like bright blue hair, and like one has pink hair, and you're like, what's going on? And they just kind of slowly adjust you from like gritty reality into cartoon people. And
that's how you got to do it. That's a good way to, that's a good approach, actually.
The world is so lived in, and there's so many times where you're like, oh, cool, they're by the pirate boats or whatever. You're like, wait, they're by the pirate. These are all real. They're real boats. Like, I guess I gotten so used to so many Netflix things and so many shows of just being all green screen. Once Mandalorian started using volume, it's like, volume will change the world. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi came out. It's like, oh, put volume away. We're not using it right. Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, One Piece, I genuinely can't recommend enough. And every person I recommended to is like, that's not my thing. every one of those people, I have a text from a mutual friend of ours, Kyle Garibaldi, who met in real time, being like, I don't know this for me, guys. And the next day, like, we watched 4 of them. I think I'm into this. Like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like,
that's the nice thing. That's the only reason why I'm kind of okay with a lot of live action remakes, is because it's like it ends up being a gateway.
But then,
like it's not really for the fans. It is for everybody else to reverse fandom.
Well said. And then I started watching hot take YouTube videos about, like, I'm a One Piece fan for my whole life, and what did I think of the live action? And it was like, I liked it. It was really good. It's like, cool. Okay, I'm on the right track. But then Avatar: Last Airbender came out, and that wasn't for me. I couldn't get through the first episode.
That wasn't for anybody, seemingly. Yeah.
No, I don't. And that's just it. I kept thinking of One Piece. I'm like, how did they do it? And how did Avatar not? I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I honestly couldn't tell you. I'd have, even side by side.
Yeah, it's so ineffable, because it's like, it could be 1,000 things, like we've been saying. It's like, could have been casting, could have been weird editor, could have been just they didn't have enough time, could have been a million things.
It's also weird.
I feel like 9 times out of 10, if something just doesn't feel right, it's just the pacing.
Yeah, Avatar is one of those things. Like, I felt I was getting what I wanted. Like, if Aang had showed up and his voice was off, or he didn't look like him or something, I'd be like, well, that's not Aang. He looks exactly like him. And within 10 minutes, I'm like, but the script is terrible. He's like, his lines are bad. This kid's doing his best, but like, it's not working. And famously, the creators of Last Airbender were working on the show and then were not working on the show, and you can tell. So,
also,
anyway.
on the note of dialogue, if you write anything, do yourself a favor and just say it out loud. Because that's the worst thing, is like, a lot of people will write something, not realize that humans have to speak it, and then it's either impossible to say or it's just super cheesy. So like, just say it out loud.
And then read-throughs, always read-throughs are very helpful and things like that. And then you're like, oh no. Or someone will say the line you wrote and be like, oh, I get it. It's like a sex thing. And you're like, what? No, it's not. What? No. Like, that's happened to me before. I'm like, that is not the intent of that line. Like, I need to go and rewrite that. My bad.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like things that I'm really looking forward to, but like, it's mostly like continuations. Like, at some point, Andor will come back. One Piece is getting another season. I'm thinking like movies this year. I mean, obviously, Deadpool Wolverine, I'm genuinely excited about. We're seeing a little bit more of that. The topic of this show, coming from CinemaCon, what was it called? CinemaCon, I got it right, was that they showed a little,
yeah, they did some Deadpools.
I think they showed like 9 minutes of it or something. They showed some Deadpool. We don't get to see it, but they did show it there. All we got to see was a cup. There's like
oh yeah, it looks like it's like a fleshlight popcorn bucket or something,
it's
basically.
but it's him in the mask. We haven't seen that yet, really ish. It doesn't look great. The cup doesn't look good, but I'm sure it'll be great. So do you have, I don't want to take up too much time on this because this has been all MCU. Do you have a theory about the storyline of Deadpool, what they're going to do?
No.
Because I think they're going to fix a lot of their problems and make it a joke. I think they're gonna erase a lot of the MCU right now and be like, lol, Deadpool did it, and just make that canon.
That would be interesting. I mean, it's one of those things, like, if you're looking for whatever your staple character is, it's like those movies have been doing pretty well, and the more you integrate it in, it's like, great, maybe just lean into it. I don't know. Yeah. But honestly, for me, if you said you won the like Charlie Chocolate Factory, like this is your home now for Marvel, I'd be like, why are we not doing more with X-Men right now?
It's such an obvious thing, right?
Like, why is that? Like, I'm not. I mean,
we know why they didn't. I don't want
phase 14 of the fucking MCU. It'd be like, we just need to be doing this with X-Men, because you know how many fucking X-Men there are.
Well aware, but I mean, maybe look, I shouldn't say let them cook on this because they're all corporate monsters, but like maybe. Look, it shouldn't be rushed, right? It shouldn't have been well, they did though. That's not even true. The end of Marvel's was they showed Beast. So like, I guess we are rushing it. Like for no good reason. It's like, look, it's Kelsey Grammer and now he's CG.
There was just something about, I think because of when COVID happened and they had to rush out some of these shows to Disney Plus just slightly before they really wanted to.
And in the wrong order.
Yeah. So I think that they just tripped in that first step. And now they're like, the whole pacing's off.
Yeah, I genuinely, because in the trailer we've seen that Deadpool is tied in with the Loki series with the time management, whatever the not TSA, the Time Lords.
The Time
Bandits. The Time Bandits. Yes. Anyway, it looks like it's going to be part of the storyline. So I mean, they really now that unfortunately now that their movies have become homework, that you have to have done the homework and watch the other shows to understand who you're
You can't
seeing.
keep up. You really
And I do. I've watched literally all of them. And even I was like watching the Marvels. I was like, A, this is infinitely better than everyone said it was. And B, it's a homework movie, though. If there's characters that if you haven't watched every show, you don't know who they are, including the end credits. But I digress. Is that I think that because they're using TVA, because they're bringing because they're bringing them in, they can literally just in an R-rated movie undo everything they don't like that's not making money and be like, Deadpool did it. Be mad at him. Moving on.
They have given themselves a lot of mechanics for erasing or going into like the multiverse. Like
Absolutely.
there's a lot of cop outs for never mind.
Yeah. Well, and especially Jonathan Majors now no longer being part of the MCU, they set him up as the next Thanos. They got to fix something. So like that, yeah, just let Deadpool break it. It's a good scapegoat, and I think they'll actually do it, which would be very funny to have an R-rated Disney-owned Marvel movie be the reason that everything gets retconned. It'll be very bizarre. It'll be Flashpoint, which is I guess they did Flashpoint in the Flash movie, didn't they? Where you go back, whatever. Anyway, I'm trying to think of other things I'm excited about coming up, but like as far as movies, I can't even think of what like summer blockbusters are going to be that I'm looking forward to. I'm sure there are some. I just can't think of any.
Look at it. We talked about Twisters.
Yeah, Twister should be fun. We got to see it in 4D. We'll see it in 4D.
Yeah, it'll be very windy.
We'll shake our faces around. Yeah. You're gonna hate it.
It's like the guy in front of you is gonna fart and it's gonna just blow through you in the fan.
That's how most movies feel now. Hey.
Bazinga.
Bazinga me. Things no one watched you should have. Ryan Murphy's Hollywoodland.
Oh, I'm excited for the Beetlejuice. That'll be good.
I want to be.
It won't be good.
I love that the entire trailer is just, we assure you that the actor who's problematic is dead in this movie. It's literally just like, the dad character's dead. What's the movie about? He's dead? No, but what's the movie about? No, he's not in this movie. We just want to be very clear about that. Like, okay, we get it, but like Beetlejuice is in it too, right?
The Phantom Menace is getting re-released. Fall Guy, I don't care about seeing.
I don't either, but it does look fun. I mean, everyone seems to like it.
I cringe at movies about movies.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. Fair.
Let's see what else. Tarot is coming out. We have a tarot card horror movie. I forgot about that.
You know what?
Forgot about that.
There is a Magic 8 Ball movie coming. I'm right about that. But Tarot was what I was thinking when I said Ouija. It was Tarot that I was thinking of.
Yeah, because Ouija, we had one a while.
We did 3, actually. There are 3 Ouija movies, I believe. There are at least 2. One's actually good.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
I've never been into them. I'm not an ape movie guy.
I thought it would. They were.
Me,
I really considered them to be pretty good. I like the guy who did the Batman, the same director.
Yeah,
but I think it's a really underrated trilogy of films.
I think they're visual masterpieces. Absolutely. Just what they're able to pull off with the tech is like, because I genuinely forget I'm looking at cartoon monkeys. You know, like I think they're good. They don't stick with me. I don't know. It's kind of like the new like Kong and Godzilla movies. Like I see them and I'm like, I saw that. Yeah, that's the thing I saw. I don't know why.
Furiosa. I thought it looks okay, but everyone has that same kind of like.
I just hate prequels. I don't like prequels. I don't see the point. We know she's not going to die. It's a prequel. What's the point? But it's George Miller, so I trust it.
It'll at least be a roller coaster of a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
also I don't know how I feel about Chris Hemsworth. I was like, yeah, you gave him the nose, but like,
and like,
it's still Thor.
Same, and I don't need an origin in that character. I just don't need. Literally, my greatest. In fact, it even goes back to things we were just talking about with Game of Thrones. When I left Fury Road, my first compliment was Furiosa didn't have to tell her sad backstory. You knew there was one. She's only got one arm. She knows all the brides. That's all I needed to know. And I was like, that's brilliant. I don't need that. And then 2 months later, they made a comic book of her backstory. And I'm like, no. And then I didn't read it. And then they're like, but what about a movie? Like,
Christ.
Starring the Anna Taylor-Joy, who you're not allowed to make a movie without anymore. If you have a movie, you have to put Anna Taylor-Joy in it, or else you will be shut down. And don't get me wrong, there's an interview with her. There's an interview with her at Seth Meyers, and I know you haven't seen it, but you must see it. And it is about how she got her accent because her parents, I believe she grew up in South Africa.
Correct.
But she's multiple backgrounds.
Argentinian.
Yes. And her British accent,
I didn't look this
which
up
is her normal speaking accent, was all learned through Harry Potter, and she says certain words like Hermione only.
Amazing.
Like she couldn't be more charming, right? Yeah, she literally has words that are stuck as Hermione words. That
people always say we're living in this like golden age of like weird looking dudes being really fashionable right now, and be like, objectively, what is Anya Taylor-Joy? It's like she's
Do you think she's weird looking? I think she's like. Perfect.
I mean, well, I'm saying like conventionally, I think she's got like the giant eyes and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think she's gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah.
But like, she looks a little elvish for conventional tastes.
So badly.
Well, we are, I think, in a.
Are you compared to like the '80s, like tan babes? Like,
Yes. I don't know, like Sydney Sweeney is like the thing right now.
That's true.
It's like,
Yeah, and I mean,
it's like, all right, put them two together, it'd be like she's.
Yeah.
This is not the conventional taste. This is not what people in Texas bars are looking up photos.
I don't know how Sydney Sweeney snuck up on me as a conventional thing, because you're right. It's just like now, like all the like conservatives are like, this is what a real woman should look like in a movie, and like I don't know.
That's my favorite thing that she Taylor Swifted everybody. It'd be like a semi accidentally aligned with conservatives just by being apolitical and blonde.
Yeah.
And then not saying anything about it.
Yeah.
And letting them just sort of claim and pander, and then eventually being like, "Oh, actually,
that's not me at all.
you guys assumed wrong."
I just associate her with like more edgy kind of stuff. So I was genuinely surprised when it was suddenly like, "Oh, she's the new hotness, and this is what all women should look like." I'm like, her, like, yeah, I like her. It's for some reason I still had her in like the kind of side project indie darling kind of thing. But also oddly, I think of that way of Anna Taylor-Joy too. I don't think of her as like a megastar, but of course she is. She's huge.
Well, it's like, I mean, I feel like the era of like,
I don't know.
yeah, well, it's like that's like, I mean, kind of, because it's like the movie,
like I know him.
The movie star thing doesn't really exist anymore because everyone's so accessible.
No one goes to. I mean, that's Anthony Mackie said it recently perfectly. It's been overquoted, but he just said no one goes to a movie to see Anthony Mackie. They go to see the Falcon or Captain America. He's like, that doesn't exist anymore. Like we can absolutely say that it's like Tom Cruise still technically, yes, people go to a Tom Cruise movie, but only because
he is the last one.
Yes, but and I don't even know if they're necessarily going to see Tom Cruise. They're going to see the crazy person who will spend as much money as possible and make the craziest spectacle you've ever seen, because you know it won't be low budget, right? You know it's going to be interesting.
It's no longer like you want to see Tom Cruise. It's you want to see a Tom Cruise movie.
Yes, and like The Rock had it, not as much anymore. I think,
bro, The Rock never fucking had it.
He had.
I don't understand who keeps giving him the money.
But he had the magic for a minute, where people were like, "Oh, The Rock's in it. Okay, well, look, Jumanji remake never would have happened without The Rock, and turns out it's good. I actually really like the first one. I think it's very funny. But like, there are a lot of movies that like no one would have. The movie Rampage would have never been made, and it didn't need to be, and literally no one would have gone to it if it wasn't him. But he was in it. People went. It sucked. It doesn't matter. But I'm saying for a minute there, he could get people in seats. I don't think he can anymore because of Black Adam and because everyone found out like he's kind of a dick about it. I don't know who that person is anymore. I don't think that person exists anymore. That's like, oh, they're in it. Yeah, I'll go see it. Like
Vin Diesel almost had it.
Yeah. And for a minute, he did.
But it's like, but now it's like his life is those Fast and Furious.
Those superstars, the IPs exist, superstars do not. Because like Zendaya is an obvious choice, but I don't know if people necessarily go to see something because she's in it. They just know that it'll be good because it'll be better because she is.
Yeah, when they cast her in Spider-Man, they didn't know she was a celebrity already.
No. Yeah, I think that era, there are very famous people, but I think that era may be done of just like, oh, well, this guy's in it. Because like
it's like the larger than life thing, and I think also a lot of like another aspect of that. Honestly, it's gonna sound dumb, but it's like how people feel more connected or felt more connected. This applies more to like 90s and stuff. People felt more connected to TV stars than movie stars because they would be in your home, literally.
Yes.
And those are like, I mean, a lot of celebrities who talk about how like that's when people really come up to you and talk to you like they're your friend. It's like if you're on a TV show. It's different when you're in a movie, then you're literally larger than life. Yeah. And it's a spectacle thing. And then the mentality of that person, it is as such. It's this like this larger than life person because they like literally are, and that's how you're looking at them. So and now it's like everyone's just on fucking TikTok.
That's just it.
Everyone's not in your home, they're in your hand.
Everyone gets their 15 minutes.
They're in the palm of your hand, literally.
I mean, we have I think you and I have discussed this before, and if you live it, is the new parasocial reality is that the children's shows like Blue's Clues, going further back, Mr. Rogers, those shows were unique because they would talk to the television, which was the child. And so if you were a little kid and you saw Mr. Rogers or oh my goodness, what's his name on Blue's Clues? I can't think of his name. Anyway, Steve, thank you. If you saw Steve as a little kid, you would have just gone up to him. You wouldn't be like, oh no, he's a stranger or he's a famous person. You'd be like, that's Steve. He's my friend. I know that guy. And that's exactly what TikTok is. That's what YouTube is. That's because we look to camera and we talk to people and we tell them things that aren't scripted, and that's your life now. People think they know you. You and I also live in an
and arguably they do.
That's true, right? Even in like, it's funny because early in the days of, because I've been in this kind of business a long time, people be like, oh, they're gonna play video games and get competitive, and I'm like, Yes, people will absolutely watch that, but I need you to understand, no one gives a shit what's happening in the actual video game. It's when they accidentally say what their favorite candy bar is. That's the moment. That's why we're watching people do nothing for 6 hours, because they'll accidentally give a part of their life that's relatable and personal, and then you're like, oh, I know that about that person now. My wife and I watch, this is so dumb, we watch videos of a guy just walking around Japan. He never speaks.
I love those videos.
He's got a great walk to him. And that's it. But I know things about him. I know he loves trains. I know if he hears a train, he's going to run for it. I know exactly which coffee drink he buys from the vending machine every time, because you see it every time. I don't know this man's name. I don't know what he looks like, but I know his quirks. And it's so weird, but that's the new world, is that you're right. Everyone's famous now for a minute.
Well, and it's like, not only that, but it, like, because of how, small things are, how small the world is, which I know is kind of a meme to say, but like I have, like, some of my best friends, like I've never even met, because it's like you can have like these insane like dynamic friendships with people in all around the world, and so like, what is the difference between that kind of friendship and something that's even more parasocial, because it's like you're still kind of experiencing it through the same portals? Because
we're in a new world now where if I can text you at 11 p.m. a lot of really personal stuff that you and I wouldn't, if we just met at a party and talked, we wouldn't talk about. So we're closer because of that. Or even if in a chat, if your chat says something that's relatable to you, or you're like, oh, I'm sorry you're going through a hard time. Like I had a hard time once, kind of like that. You're now more connected to that person than I am to like my aunt, you know, who I wouldn't talk to about those things to. So yeah, what is that? And
I mean, like the meta of content creation now, it's like oversharing too. So
it's like, you and I live in a sort of unique world too, in that we both work in an industry which works with influencers. We know influencers, and so when I'll go to a party with influencers, I will make the mistake of just like, oh yeah, it's that guy, and then I'll be like, I don't think I actually know them. Like, I think I've just watched 10 of their videos and I know who they are. There's a possibility I could know them. I definitely know someone who knows them because of just where we work and what we do. Yeah. But like, I've made that mistake where I'll just say hi to someone and realize, oh crap, I actually don't know this person. I know too much about them, but I didn't realize which I don't think that's very common, but yeah, that is the new. Oh God, I'm showing ankle. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. Slanderous. I'm so. This isn't that kind of show.
Demonetize.
Sorry, you saw that, everyone. I was helping you white balance your camera.
It's like I got my slutty little knee out.
I saw someone, even today. I saw you as Spicy Draco. I saw that's still there.
Oh yeah,
that's still happening. I like it. I can sit next to Spicy Draco.
You pointed out my friggin' little.
Pull up the action figure. Did you know he has an action figure? Who made that?
I gotta see. This guy makes like every time there's like meme stuff, he makes out of stock is the name of the person, but yeah.
This is amazing.
My little action figure.
His own toy.
This is one of those things. He was like, I can send it to you. I'm like, absolutely send this to me. Like, I'm never gonna, never gonna have an action figure. Yes. Are you kidding me?
What? Who would say no to that? Nah, I'm good.
He was like, you want it? Seriously? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's
like,
the dream.
Are you shitting me?
To get a toy made of yourself. Are you kidding me?
I get to casually leave that there, and I'm used to seeing it, and then everyone comes over and is like, is that a fucking action figure of you?
Okay, this is super random, but you brought up something that's also kind of goes to like where we live in our world and stuff. Is there's something to your own home. There's cool things in your home that you don't even think about anymore, like that action figure. You see it every day. It means nothing. And that's kind of, people ask me about like when you go into like a studio or something in Hollywood, or like, oh, do you went to the set of that thing? Like, was that cool? I remember I used to work for years ago a horror online company, cable company called FearNet, and their offices had skeletons everywhere and claws and stuff like that. It was so cool. And you just walked in the door and you're like, oh my God. And they're like, oh yeah. And it's like when you go to Blizzard, when you go to Riot, when you go there, it's Disneyland. It's like, it's mind blowing. They have props everywhere and everything's named after their games. But after you've worked there for 2 months, it's just stuff on a wall. Yeah. It's so strange that like you can get used to the weirdest stuff. And I got to work, very, very lucky. I got to work in Jim Henson Studios. And at the same example where like I would turn a corner and just see like something from the Dark Crystal or like from Labyrinth or like a Muppet and be like, what? But like someone's been working for 9 years here, and that's just the thing that's on the wall next to it.
It's like a human nature. You acclimate to the environment.
Yeah, but it is strange. Like when you can't, I personally think there's value in somehow finding a way, especially like if you go on a vacation, even if it's when you don't, like you have to go out of town for a funeral or something like that, let's say. I think there's value in finding a way to reset yourself and come back and relook at it and be like,
I enjoy having the kind of objectivity and self-awareness that I can like look in my place and be like, how cringe is it that like is it going to be a deal breaker one day that there's like a Lord of the Rings Middle Earth map in my bedroom? Like, am I going to I'm going to bring somebody over, they're going to lay down, see that, and it's going to be like, see you never. We're done here.
That is the wrong person.
I don't know. It'll be fun to find out. I can't wait. Can't wait to find out.
Many moons ago, in younger days of mine, that a stayover guest for the first time woke up the next morning, and the first thing he said was, "You got a lot of toys." The room was dark when they stayed, and then when the sun came up,
like, oh god,
did not stay long.
like I just got a Funko Pop. I just got another Funko Pop. Oh, look, another Funko Pop.
That was literally my wake up. Was, you got a lot of toys. I'm like, uh-oh. Well, it was nice seeing you. I mean, that's a whole other thing too, is that like all the things that we grew up on, we were not supposed to still like, and yet we are my generation, I think, is the first to hold on to them. Whereas the whole point of like toys and all of that was you like a thing, you outgrow it, and then we pitch something to your little brother, and then the cycle continues forever. No one was supposed to still want to play with Transformers or G.I. Joes or want to see a live action movie of G.I. Joes. That was never in the works. That was never supposed to happen. And my generation started that like, but what if I don't want to grow up? And now it's just considered just standard. Like,
we invented perpetual adolescence.
Absolutely.
We own that.
It's true though.
If you're in your 30s right now, that's us. We did that for you.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's true. You outgrew things. That's just what I mean. Like, that's what's so funny to me is that like anytime a Star Wars movie comes out, if only you knew, like, if my dad at his age, when he took me to Star Wars, I was like a baby probably, but like I saw Star Wars, and like if he had gone to work and been like, oh my god, you guys, Star Wars is so cool, like this character, he does this, blah blah blah, and then someone else would be like, yeah, but like that doesn't make sense in the storyline, like you should have done that. That never would have. They would have been like, you two, what is wrong? They would have put them away. They would have been like, you have mortgages, like, David, go sit down. What are you talking about? Like,
you know what, when I moved in here, I had like a couple movers like help me just take the boxes in, and this one guy, he brought in a box, and it was just like, it was labeled like Legos, and I had another bin. It was like open and had like a couple Funko Pops in it. And he asked me, he's like, "Oh, are you like into nostalgia?" I'm like, what does that mean?
How dare
he was like, "Oh, I just see you got like toys and like Legos and stuff." I'm like, what? Am I into nostalgia? What does that mean?
Like Funko,
that's my personality trait is like I'm into the concept of nostalgia and then collect vintage things like Legos.
Antiques, like Funkos.
I just like puzzles, dude.
That's it. But it's funny you say that too, because it is.
I'm just like, I'm coming over to your place and I'm going to critique your things.
Yes.
We have different life experiences, bro.
We've become an IP world in that you don't just like a concept. You can't be like, I really like Westerns. Like, that's not a thing anymore. It's like, no, you have to like a certain thing. A mutual friend of ours, Sean Rourke, he just loves vampires. He has a YouTube channel called Vampire's Castle. He's the foremost expert on vampires, period. And I remember a few years ago going to Comic-Con with him and going to one of those, it wasn't a t-shirt booth, but it was just a booth with all kinds of pins or whatever. And they're like, it was probably Funko Pop. Let's just say Funko Pop for the story. And they're like, well, is there anything you're looking for? And he goes, do you have anything with vampires? And I just watched a person's brain just like explode, because it was like, well, do you want Vampire Diaries? Do you want interview? Like, it wasn't, but he was like, no, I just like vampires. And like, they couldn't,
just like categorically,
you can't say that. You have to pick a thing. It has to be Twilight, or it has to be, you can't, but it was so funny just watching him like, yeah, I mean, yeah, probably. Like, you have to focus, you have to zoom in. That has to be your personality, specific IPs.
You know what's weird? This is kind of aside from that, but I'm
on focus today. So
it's like weird. It's like back when I was a kid, I remember being like, I was nerdy or geeky, and then like culturally it kind of shifted, and now it's like, I feel like all the things I was nerdy or geeky about before are so pop culture now that it's like it's swung so far the other way. I'm like, what do I do now? It's like I can't hang with the real nerds.
No.
And it's like, But before, it's like I got fucked in both periods. Like there was this one little, I hit an equilibrium and I was like 24. Everything was cool, and then it's like fuck, it went far now. It's like I don't have a D&D show. Be like fuck, it's like it went too far.
Nerd culture was coming up at just the right time, and you could have a minute of coolness.
Yeah,
and then it's
went to
about
Comic-Con every year, and now it's like, well, now fucking everybody goes.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
And then the nerds became bullies. It's just like, you watch the Lakers, dude. There's another Guardians of the Galaxy movie out right now. Like it just like it flipped weirdly, where the nerds were like jerks. I don't know when that happened either. I'm from a generation where I'm still bitter that like you can just go into Hot Topic and buy a thing you like from a thing you like. Like that was definitely not my time. Like that was
the hot
not
topic
a thing.
of today is not the hot topic of yesteryear.
True, but it's like if you are like, well, I mean, just anime, especially if you were like a weeb, like you were paying bajillion-dollar import fees and like trying to find one person
yeah,
to get you
that was an
stuff. And
expensive
now,
hobby.
Yeah, now like Target has Naruto t-shirts. Like nothing is niche. What's niche now? Is anything niche anymore? I don't even know.
I don't know. If you're into something niche, it might be a crime at this point. I don't know. Like it has to be
really
something
niche, go to jail.
Something really illegal. Yeah.
I think mine is like it's finding things, genuinely finding like lost movies no one's seen, which is impossible to do now, and like just little things like that. Yeah, that I'll get. That's the only things I get hyper focused on now is like really little niche things. But like the content that I take in all day is talking about movies I've already watched 100 times and telling me things I already know about them. Like it's just like.
Well, I got to tell you, like, it's one of those things. Like, as far as I'm concerned, most of the things I'm into are very pop culture. But it all depends on like what kind of life experience person you're talking to. True. So, like, all like just dating, it'll be like, you know, like I don't know if you know what a Ren Fair is, but like if this is going to continue, like we're going.
You need to know.
Like we're going. You need to be able to understand that that's happening. You need to be on board with that, whether you think it's dumb or not. Like it's happening. You're going.
I think
we're gonna dress up.
I think
it's gonna be weird, but it's like you got to be on board, and that's why it's like I just took up like close-up magic. Like I'm doing fucking like card tricks.
Yes,
it's like that's another one too. It's like if I start doing this and this is a problem for you, be like I think it's dumb too.
Yeah,
I think it's dumb too. But it's like it's a litmus test. Like can you hang? Can you hang? I'm gonna do
a magic face.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna be in tights and I'm gonna do magic tricks at a Renaissance fair.
Last night,
it's like it's gonna be fun. But if any of that is a problem right now, yeah. And then there's also gonna be like a Middle Earth map that I got in New Zealand framed above my bed. It'd be like it's gonna get weird. But you got to be on board with this now.
I was just having this conversation with my wife the other day about like neither of us are big sports people, but we're like, you know, like what if one of us was like really into football? And like I dated someone for many years who was really into hockey, and it's like I never got into hockey, but I learned the players she liked. I watched more hockey than I ever would have. You can pick up stuff. You don't have to be like fully into what a partner likes, but I think you can. But I think if you put on the brakes, you're like, well, they like this thing I hate, it's just never going to work. Like I said, you don't have to be full tilt into it. I've never become a hockey fanatic, but I learned all the players for the Ducks that season because that was her thing that she liked, you know?
Yeah, I think it's like I'm not a big sportser per se, but it's like I'll enjoy and watch football when it's on and basketball, and I've been to Lakers games and stuff.
I know you're not into sports because you said the word sportser.
Yeah. if you will.
If you will. But yes, I mean, but also to your point is that like, yeah, it's and it's not just about like, well, I like these movies, so fuck you, you know, like it is like, it's who you are. Also, for that matter, every year I keep waiting for the year where I have a birthday and then I just grow out of it all. Turns out it doesn't happen. By the way, if you're at home and you're just like, oh, well, you know, I like these things now, but I'll probably grow out of it. You probably won't. Actually, we don't have to anymore.
You really don't have to.
Grandparents did, but we don't anymore. You can still just like the thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a Pikachu cake probably in July. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Yeah,
good. As well you should.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Pokemon? Do you have a favorite?
Charmeleon, I think.
Oh, nice.
He's kind of a bitch, yeah.
Nice.
Really angsty teenager. Yeah. I like
Everyone
him.
should have a favorite. Chad, tell us your favorite Pokemon. It's very important, so I'll judge you. I was very excited about the new Pokemon series, the stop motion one that was so cute. It was a Pokemon Concierge.
Oh, yeah.
Because it features Psyduck, my favorite Pokemon, who never gets the love. He's the most relatable to me.
Yeah.
I've just always liked. I've liked him the most because in an animal fighting ring, he is the one who should be there the least, and seems to be the only one who understands that. Mm-hmm. The rest of them are like, I don't want to
be out here.
I guess I'll beat the shit out of this guy. And Psyduck is like, please, what's happening? Don't make me kill you with my brain. I hate it.
Very relatable. Yeah.
I was very excited that the new Pokemon Concierge series on Netflix, which is very good, but only like 4 episodes or maybe 6. It's too short. They're making more, but it's very good. It's very cute.
Oh, randomly, I meant to bring this up. You mentioned Animal Crossing earlier. And we talked about Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Have you seen that there's the new, like, it's called the Shire something? It's
Licensed?
like, it's supposed to be like an animal. Yeah, it's supposed to be like an Animal Crossing, like, Shire game.
Oh my God.
I know one of the producers on it. I can't remember the name of it, but it looks amazing. Chad, if you've seen it, it's
I mean,
we're all kind of assuming it's like an Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
They're letting out
Valley,
certain.
like,
we just saw like actual gameplay. of it.
Really, I've not seen that. So okay, so
I'll have to send you
with
something.
Stardew Valley, with Animal Crossing, like these are made to be chill games. The whole point of them is to chill. The Shire had better be the most chill game I've ever played. It better be. Do you remember the old game Plants vs Zombies?
Yeah.
So I used to love that game and I played a lot of it, but I'd forgotten about it. And recently I saw a TikTok where they were playing the song. There's a thing in Plants vs. Zombies, you'd earn certain plants and you'd make a Zen garden. And it was just like a completionist thing, but it played this song and it was like a green room and it played this like, oh my God. And I heard it on a TikTok video. I'm like, oh my God, it's all coming back. It's such a, so the Shire game needs to just be that. It needs to be the most chill thing I've ever seen in my life.
Tales of the Shire.
Okay. It does look chill. It looks Animal Crossing. It looks very cartoony.
It's very Animal Crossing. Yeah.
Okay.
Chat, you guys can look this up. It's called Tales of the Shire. It's very like mobile gamey graphics, but it's seemingly going to be an Animal Crossing-esque game.
If there's a second of non-chill, like if ring rates come in, no, I don't want that game.
No.
I want to be in the Shire. I want to be chilling in the Shire. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I want like an option to be sitting there like smoking on a stoop.
Yes. I don't. And I usually
press X to blow a ring.
I usually in almost any game I want to have a jump and an attack. I don't usually like games that do it, but in that particular game, the Shire better be the chillest.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk about something.
I look forward to harvesting crops.
Yes.
Look forward to tending to my garden.
Smoking also. Yeah.
Yes. I want to compete in a pumpkin growing competition.
Yes. There's going to be a dating sim in it too, though. You know. Yeah.
I want to crush on somebody.
Yeah, they're always out there.
I want to crush on somebody at the Shire.
Gallivanting about.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, there's gonna be some crushes.
Can you imagine if you can get married in that game? I'd be so happy.
Yeah,
if they do like full Stardew like treatment.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Sure, you can. You can like
see, it's like I don't know much about it because they haven't told us much about it, but there's so much potential there.
You could be like a foot groomer.
Birthday parties.
You can comb people's feet.
In-game birthday parties. That'd be fabulous. You can invite your friends.
But mostly smoking from big pipes, right?
Yes, mostly.
Okay. And that's like the only bad thing that can happen in the game is Gandalf shows up. And you're like, no,
fuck, a relaxing game.
The worst thing that can happen is adventure. Like, no, please don't make me leave my home, please. And it's like a jump scare. It's like, Gandalf found you.
You have to like avoid him, like you're exit a party. You're just like, nope, I'm not going to engage. Not engaging.
Gandalf found you. You're on an adventure.
No.
I didn't find it in time. I'm sorry. Anyway, there's a game. It's something. I want to say it's something halibut, but it's coming out in the next like 5 days, and I'm very excited about it. It's all claymation. But now I want to rock the Shire. Well, also, you know, Animal Crossing lets you go to other people's islands. I don't think I want anyone at my Shire, frankly.
I might be
closed gate system.
Okay with it, but I like the idea. I don't know how they do it because it's like there's only one the Shire, but there's different areas, a lot of different areas.
Yeah, but isn't kind of the point of Animal Crossing like to make your island not only like what you want, but also like show off to your friends, and then you get stressed out. You're like, well, if they're coming over, I gotta have all the same couches that look cool and show it off. I don't want that in the Shire, man. I'm not looking to show off.
Who are you gonna like owe bells to? Who's that? Who's that in the Shire? Yeah.
Here's the horrible landlord and his two sons. It's always trying to break your legs in the Shire. That's a good question. Also, I mean, they'll have to pick because I mean, obviously Bilbo and Frodo crossover. So yeah, what are they in it, and which time period do we pick?
There's no way they're in it. I don't think.
You don't think?
I don't think so. That would stress me out because then I'd be thinking about
DLC,
the plot of Lord of the Rings. Be like, I just want to be in the Shire.
Yeah. You just that's the other.
I like the idea of like being in the Shire like properly as it should be experienced as a hobbit, which is forgetting the outside world exists.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, or Bilbo's the other jump scare. If you catch him on the wrong day, it is not good.
Yeah,
it's just at the market.
It's like ugh, Baggins.
Do you think that was most? I think that was an entire generation's first jump scare in a movie, and not realizing that Peter Jackson was an amazing horror director before he was given a franchise. When Bilbo does the hiss, I think that ruined a lot of people. I think that was a first scare for a lot of people.
Did you see his movie right before Lord of the Rings? The
Which one?
Beautiful Creatures, I think it was.
Yes. Oh God, Jennifer Connelly, right? Yeah. Or no, sorry,
No.
Titanic. We were just talking.
It was
about
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet,
and
yes.
then
I love that other actress too.
I forget her name. But
She's on Yellow Jackets. That other actress.
She's the creepy neighbor from 2.5 Men.
That is.
Yeah.
Her, isn't it? You know what that actress
name.
is also really good in?
What?
Is what's the Drew Barrymore Cinderella movie? Enchanted? I think that's what it was called.
Barrymore.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore. It was like in the 2000s. Like she plays. It's her, Doug Ray Scott, and she's Cinderella, and her fairy godmother is Leonardo da Vinci. You've never seen this movie?
No.
Pretty sure it's called Enchanted. Help me out in the chat. I'm almost positive it's called Enchanted. She plays one of the wicked stepsisters, but it's kind of the twist early on before the movie started doing that, where she's actually kind of the cool one. She's just like, you know what? Her mom's kind of a dick, actually. She's great in that movie. Ever After. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ever After. Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Well, Linear 666. Thank you. Ever After, fine film. There are things in your life that are movie related, and when you say a thing, you can't not say the next thing. Correct? When he kicked the helmet, he broke his foot. Okay. Ever After, fine film. Prince Charming, played by Doug Ray Scott, got hurt. Was supposed to play Wolverine and got hurt and couldn't do it. Because of Ever After is when he was filming Ever After. I believe it was during that time or right after.
Tragic.
And so that's when Hugh Jackman got the role.
Wow.
And everyone's heard the story about Hugh Jackman in Canadian when he gets stopped by the TSA, right? Is that Hugh Jackman's supposed to go to his second audition for Wolverine, and his paperwork is boned, and the Canadian TSA is like, da-da-da-da-da, what's the hurry? You don't have your paperwork. And he's like, look, mate, I got to get into America. I'm in this movie. And he's like, I'm playing a superhero. He goes, who are you playing? He goes, I'm not supposed to say it. And he's like, well, just tell me you're not getting in anyway. And he's like, I'm Wolverine. And he goes, I'll be right back.
I love when stuff like that works.
Yeah, and the TSA guy brings in like 3 other guys, and he's like, "This guy's gonna be Wolverine!" And they're like, "Yeah!" And they all took their picture and sent him on. They're like,
It's like Kid Harington got out of like getting arrested for like a traffic violation or something.
Yeah,
it's like
you're done.
it was like one of the mid seasons. He's like, just tell me if you're alive, and I'll let you go.
Oh no, that's amazing. Oh, that's an abuse of power.
And then he told him, and then allegedly the guy said, "On your way, Lord Commander," or something like that.
Oh my God,
something super cheesy.
Amazing. It must be so cool to be famous, except when it's not.
Except
90%
most
of the time.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something about famous people for a second, because we know famous people. You are a famous people. I'm going to tell you something not to do to famous people, and it's going to hurt your feelings. And if it does hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, because we've all had this instinct. If a famous person or their work has ever gotten you through a bad time, and you see that famous person, you don't need to tell them that. And I'm sorry to say that to you. If you had a family member who's dying of cancer and their show made you feel better and it changed your life, or maybe even made you not make a bad decision in your life, or maybe not even take your own life, and that person changed your life, that's amazing. And they gave you that without even knowing you. You don't have to tell them that. You don't, because there's a line at Comic-Con and there's 400 people behind you and the 20 people in front of you already said that to them.
Also, quick question.
Sorry.
What kind of response are you expecting?
And that
what do you want them to say?
And that too. That's exactly it. And
do you want them to say you're welcome? Do you want them to say thank you? Like, I don't know. It's. I think people don't realize that too. You got to think about, like, what am I going to say? If I say something to them, how is it going to make them feel? What are they going to say back?
And that's just it, is that person, that famous person, made an important impact in your life when you needed them most, whether they knew it or not, and they didn't. And you want to thank them for that. And it's because it's important to you. That's not helping them. You're the 20th person to tell them about death that day, and what are they supposed to say back? Exactly what you just said. Please don't do that. Look, I'm a person who went to when the comedy group Whitest Kids You Know, who are so funny, and they lost a member recently, and unfortunately that very member, I went to a Q&A with them. It was so great, and I'm the fucking asshole who asked a question based on one of their sketches. Like, I quoted one of their lines back to them at a Q&A. When I go back in time, when I get a time machine, I go back and snap my neck like Deadpool does to himself. Like, I want to kill that Jack Conway. He was such a moron. But like, look, so I'm saying I get the instinct. I get the instinct to say something or like, you see a famous person say the line from that movie they're in. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Just either, if you want to get a selfie, just tell them, don't steal it. And if they say no, be respectful. That's it. And if you just say, I think you're great, that's great. I love that movie. Great. That's fine. That's it.
I always think it's weird people who that'll shout lines at people.
Yeah,
like,
happens all the time.
It's like, what? Why? Like, what possessed you?
I love
it's
that.
Like, is it just monkey brain? Like,
yeah.
See person, think of thing.
Yes.
I shout thing.
Yes. And more importantly, think you're the first person who's thought to do that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Or, they love this. They probably don't. That Super Bowl ad with Christopher Walken, I think, was like so genuinely telling, which everyone does an impersonation of Christopher Walken to Christopher Walken.
100%.
I'm sure that's his life. What a nightmare. What a not fun nightmare that's got to be.
Well, maybe he shouldn't sound like that.
That's his fault.
Kind of asking for it.
That's his fault. My wife didn't love that he was in Dune 2. She said it took her out of it. As soon as she saw him.
Same.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
didn't think
everyone's
too much, but, like, yeah.
acting, playing this great literary
And then
character,
Walken.
and then there's Christopher Walken.
Being Christopher Walken.
He just showed up.
Yeah.
He did like 3 days.
Yeah.
The only reason he said yes is because the rest of the cast was so cool.
And it took you out.
He has all of 2 lines, and it just sounds like Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy is the master of the known universe, extremely brutal, jealous, sent this entire family line, this entire lineage to die in this brutal war.
Yeah.
Like, that's Christopher Walken, dude.
I know who this guy is. I know what he's gonna sound like, and I feel like they gave him very few lines on purpose. He sounded because he didn't, so he wouldn't sound like Christopher Walken.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know if they'd given it to like fucking Ed Harris or something.
Yeah,
he could have just sat there. I'd be like,
yeah.
that guy stepped on
Yes,
some throats to get to where he is.
That's very true. Wow, damn. As just a throwaway casting, you're right. That would have been, I was on the fence. I was like, no, it's fine. Now that you just said that, I'm like, yeah. Ed Harris would have crushed.
Because it doesn't need to be some like big actor like Christopher Walken to fill that. And if it needed to be that, it could have been 1,000 other people.
Yes, who you can respect.
But it was like to pick someone with such a strong flavor to them.
Yes. We keep talking about the Batman movies. I'm gonna go for one more. Batman Returns, where Walken plays Max Schreck. It's so funny. I saw recently a Gen Zer reviewing all the Batman movies, and it's just great to see it under new eyes. And he's just like, there are like 600 Batman villains, and Tim Burton put in his OC. He put in Max Schreck. What is this? He's like, and you already have too many villains in the movie. Why did you need a third one? He's like,
I'll tell you,
Batman villain.
I've been on a Batman kick and rewatching them.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken in Batman Returns looks so hot.
Okay, agreed. They keep hitting his eyes.
Gorgeous.
But I'm glad you just rewatched it because I want to talk. Well, he has your eyes. That's why he said that. I just realized that he has Morgan's eyes. No, but
he has fabulous bone structure, and you know, it's like, especially if you see, like, he had a couple like really early roles, like where he just had like 1 or 2 lines. It's like, that guy fucks.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken gets.
You have,
It's
you have a little
down.
books, don't you? Where you check off names. There's the only thing I want to talk about that movie, and I love that movie actually. Batman Returns is so solid. I almost said Kim Basinger, but sorry, Catwoman.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Thank you, Michelle Pfeiffer. God damn, she crushes it. Penguin, way more grossly sexual than I remembered. Watching it again, I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
But there's a character in that movie, and it's Maxwell Schreck, played by Christopher Walken, and he has a son named Chip.
Yep.
And this is, as far as I know, outside the Super Bowl commercial, the only time anyone has hired an actor to do a bad Christopher Walken impression on purpose to play his son, and he's hilarious, and he's just like, no, Dad, don't. Like, he has very few lines, but it's so funny, and it's too much makeup, and he's like, Chip, my son, Chip, and he's just like, Dad, I love you. It's so funny. It's just this man. What a great day in that man's life. And just like, you're going to play his son, and we want you to kind of sound like him.
Can you imagine
like,
the political minefield sitting there like, how far do I go?
Yes, you just go home that night.
You're like, I'm not doing this in a vacuum. I'm doing this to him.
God. I genuinely short. I have a short Christopher Walken story. If you've seen the movie Catch Me If You Can, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, and in the movie Christopher Walken plays DiCaprio's father. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where DiCaprio pretends to be a doctor, and then he gets into his first surgery, and of course it goes badly, and he runs to a sink and throws up. Hard cut to Christopher Walken's house, his dad, and Tom Hanks is there trying to find out where DiCaprio is, and he picks up an old photo of Christopher Walken and his wife from World War I want to say, maybe two. No, it'd be two, and he's like, da 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 da, and he's like, "Where's your son?" He sets it down. That is a photograph of me with Christopher Walken's head photoshopped onto my body.
What the fuck?
I was Christopher Walken's body double for Catch Me If You Can in a photograph in World War II.
How?
I don't know. I just think I had an agent at the time, and they had me come in, and I walked into. I went on the set of Catch Me If You Can, and it was brilliant. It was so cool. It was
Do
like
you have the body type of Christopher Walken? I didn't
That's
realize.
the funny part. I walk in the door, and there's this kid who's short, has bright blue eyes, and like looks like Christopher Walken. And I'm just like, all right, well, it was a good day. And you know, and I think it was like extra work. So I'm like, I'm on the phone booking my next job that day. I'm like, cool, I'll get a full day pay. I'll get another job. Cool, I'm out. And directors just kind of pop their head in. And I walked in the wrong tent, by the way. That movie is all about, he becomes an airline pilot. So I walked into a tent of like 50 only women. It was a whole scene where they auditioned flight attendants. and it's all women in like old TWA. And it was so cool. It was so good. It was such a weird moment. They're just walking me like, ah. It was like, oh my God, I went back in time. But anyway, I said to be short. It's my fault. And the producers walked in, looked at him, looked at me, and they're like, all right, you. And I'm like, I'm just as surprised. Also, when they tell you you're going to be a young Christopher Walken, what do you wear? What would you wear? You got to think about it, right? I think I did okay, but like it was a hard thought. Like I was like, what do I show up in?
Yeah,
I don't look like.
What did you go with?
So what do I do? I wore a black turtleneck and a blazer, kind of similar to
It's like just his exact outfit from that Fatboy Slim video.
Yes, I guess, yes, or maybe even Dead Zone, yeah. But anyway, so they're like you, and the other kid was mad. He walks by me, and goes, "You didn't have blue eyes, do you?" And I was like, nope.
He did not say that.
He really did. He
didn't even have blue eyes. God,
pissed because he knew he had it. I knew he had it. I walked in the room, we looked at each other, and he was like, "I got this in the bag. I'm gonna pay a check." He literally like a Simpsons character was like, "You even have blue eyes," and walked.
Oh man.
So anyway, blah blah blah. They give me my wardrobe. I come in the next day, and it literally
Like I love the idea that like that's his version of this story, and he's been telling this to like people. He's on a podcast somewhere right now saying his version of that.
This dull-eyed
piece
of shit comes in. Yeah, this tall garbage man. Right?
Tall garbage man.
So yeah, I do the thing, and it turns out literally they had cast an actress that they wanted to play his wife, and they just wanted someone tall like Christopher Walken. And they just literally needed someone taller.
Was the guy not? The guy wasn't tall enough.
No, he wasn't tall. He looked just like Christopher Walken, but they had always intended. Well, I think.
But there was going to be a head replacement. He didn't know that. Yeah.
So it didn't matter at all. They just wanted someone tall. But then I get there and they're like, this is like, I mean, that movie's not, it's oldish. It's been around. So like the technology was, we had Photoshop, but it wasn't like super great yet. But it was like, yeah, literally a poor PA is just like looking at me, looking at a picture of Christopher Walken. And he's like,
all right, yeah, I guess. Sure.
He really goes, do your best to look like this. I was like,
whatever that means.
I was like, I just said to him, I should have been fired. I'm like, punch me in both eyes. I already have bags. Like I earned these things, but like Walken's got the bag. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, man. And he's like, yeah, we'll work it out.
Shove a watch up my ass.
Yeah, and I did. It was very surreal in that this young woman who was going to play my wife, her mom was with her on set. They walk her in her costume. I'm in my itchy, wool costume. And at one point, that was the funny thing is at one point I'm like, I haven't been to makeup. And they're like, don't worry about it. I'm like, don't worry about it. Like that wasn't even my first notice of what was going to happen. I didn't even get it. Like, don't worry. This is an unprofessional set. I thought Spielberg was producing this. Yeah. And then they're like, we're going to swap out your head. But it was very strange. They stood me next to her, and we're just in front of it. We're at a hangar, actually, a flight hangar. And they just had to stand there, and because they were going to put in a background anyway of like a tank. And they're like, okay, you've just gotten married. And you're in front of your first house. Okay, you're very much in love. It's like you're in love, but one of you has a secret. It's like, and you've seen pictures of me. I hate taking photos anyway. And then they're like, all right, and you have a baby, and they literally just bring in a fake baby.
Oh my God!
She goes. And I'm like, this is moving fast. And they're like, you love your baby? And we're like, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
All right. And they're like, all right. And you're a little older. And we're just like, move your shoulders down? I don't know what that means, And then that was it. And they're like, all right, thanks. Got paid, got lunch, went home. Anyway. That was
pretty good gig if you can get it. Pretty good.
So yeah, catch me if you can. Right after he throws up, then I play Christopher Walken's body. And I did get to see it in a theater with my mom, and she was like, I recognize those shoulders.
See those shoulders anywhere.
My big moment on the big screen. I think that's the only movie. No, I'm in the Muppet movie a lot, whatever the newer one is, as an extra, but I'm in it a lot.
That's funny.
I'm like dead center in a lot of the Muppet movie.
Yeah. My version of that is Glee.
Oh, yeah.
Season 2 of Glee.
Yeah.
Bunch of that, yeah.
Were you in the school? You were one of the students?
One of the students in the school, and then occasionally they would need like an extra warbler for wide shots.
No kidding. So did they actually record you doing audio?
No, God, no.
No, because they'd have to pay you more. Yeah.
Well, also all that audio, like they recorded in the studio before, and they're all lip syncing to it.
I didn't know that. All of them? All the songs?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, none of that's live.
Yeah. My experience with that was I was on Buffy a lot, and I'm in the Buffy musical episode. And so the Spike song, Rest in Peace, I'm in that one. I was front and center.
I gotta do Spike cosplay at one point.
You absolutely have to. Literally, the action figure of you just looks like Spike. It probably was a Spike figure. That's probably a reaction Spike figure that they just made you. Yeah, I got to be in a lot of Buffy, and after that, even a lot more Angel. And it's just because I owned one suit, and I just wore it on all those shows. I played a lawyer for Wolf from the Heart on Angel, and I even got to do establishing shots. spots where they do the like, here's the law office, and like I was, so I wound up in a lot of episodes just crossing basically. But yeah, that was really fun. And also, I frankly I worked on a lot of Joss Whedon shows with Joss Whedon on set, and I did not see any of the Joss Whedonisms, but also I am a white man, so he was nice to me.
So you're probably fine. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't.
That's the thing. Every time anybody says like, "Well, they were fine to me,"
yeah,
be like,
you're
nobody fucking asked.
You're usually male.
Like, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah. You're not
like, well, I had privilege. So.
Right, so they must be great.
Yeah.
I can say, obviously, in hindsight, it's not as fun to say that, but like I have fond memories of working a lot on Buffy and Angel. Those are fun sets. And at that time, everyone seemed to be in a good place. I didn't see the ugly side, but
I had fun on the Glee set. That was.
And again, talk about a tragic set too. Afterwards, there's literally a documentary.
I always wanted to watch the documentary.
Do you want to watch it though? I mean, do you think?
Yeah, I'll watch it. I'm curious. It is super weird, like how
you're close to it.
How many of them are dead? Well,
I understand you're not best friends with them, but like you were on that set.
Well, it's funny. I ran into Ryan Murphy like years later.
No kidding.
And I didn't say anything, but he literally was like, I was working at like a furniture store, and he came in and he was like, "Do I know you?"
No.
I swear to God.
That's so cool.
And he recognized me from like I never talked to him.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's good with faces.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, I just did some Glee stuff. She's like, how was it? Did it suck? I was like, no, it's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any? That's what don't exist. Good producer stories or like good Hollywood stories or like someone at the top. Just
Well,
I have a couple.
I think those stories rarely have like public appeal because there's not much literacy about who producers are.
Yeah. But there are some. Like I've had good stories where like someone was again white cis male. Wow, someone was nice to you. Let you do something. Yeah. But
tall too.
Yeah.
You have tall white male privilege.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I have a lot of nightmare stories too. The most important thing I ever learned on set is when I was a PA, actually, which I just totally bumbled into that job. But someone mistook me for someone else at a party and thought I was a PA. So I was like, yes, I am. And then I just started working sets. Yeah. Was once when I think it was an AD. No, it was still a PA. Anyway, there was an AD who was very, very, very bad. And it was a guy who ran Transpo, I think. It was just like one of the, like union grunts. Mm-hmm. And this AD was just a nightmare. They're screaming at everyone, screaming at extras, just being a real pain in the ass.
AD is a tough gig.
And it is and that's just it. And so that's why I immediately give, I'm like, oh man, AD is really.
By the way, just a quick, in case you don't know what that is, it's assistant director, right. AD. It's the way it works is the first AD is the person who does like the call sheets. They're basically the person who is the like drill sergeant of the set, embarking everybody around. And then there's like a second AD who will handle like some of the blocking of like the extras and stuff like that.
And then there's PAs, which is a production assistant. They're below. So it's like the producers, directors and stuff. And then it goes AD. First AD actually really has a lot of power. Usually the directors will know the first AD.
I know first ADs who will be the ones to shout action and cut. Yeah. So the director can just chill.
Yeah. The directors put a lot of faith in their first ADs and their second ADs, sometimes third, fourth, depending on how.
Yeah, like it is almost like it's arguably the first AD set.
Yeah,
like they're also the safety coordinator. Like they're responsible for the set.
Yeah. And then under that is PAs, production assistants, and they're kind of the lackeys for them. Yada yada yada. But as a PA once, and I think it was the second AD, but they were a nightmare, and it was a new show, and they were just screaming at everyone. And it was the guy who runs Transpo, who's basically in charge of like making sure people get to and from set, or if there's a car in a shot, they'll usually in charge of that too, unless it's a stunt vehicle. But the Transpo guy was just like, he's like, you see that person? And I'm just like, yeah. And he goes, they have no idea what they're doing, and they don't want you to know that, and that's why they're acting that way. And it changed my life in the profession. Frankly, it changed how I do things. Like if I ever got upset, and you've known me a long time. It takes a lot. It takes you and I worked in the trenches together. It takes a lot to get me mad. Like it's difficult to do. I think I rarely get upset, and I don't think I ever take it out on anyone. It's always my fault to me. But in those moments, it's like if you get mad, they're gonna know you don't know what you're doing. And I stay with that, and it's kind of funny too. It helps you a lot in life too, because like when you see someone flipping out like that, then you can just be like, oh, they're insecure. They have no idea what they're doing right now. That's interesting. Huh.
Like you are so in over your head right now.
Yeah, or they could just be coked out of their mind. But like there's other options. You could just be a horrible person.
70-30. Yeah.
That was the best advice I ever got on a set. It was just like, if you're flipping out and you're that mad, it's because you absolutely don't want people to know that you have no idea what you're doing. Yeah, it's a good tip.
And that applies to a lot of people.
It does.
A lot of people don't know what they're doing.
It does. Well, can I say the meaning of life on your podcast?
Absolutely.
I know the meaning of life. It's not the meaning of life. I know the answer to life. Are you ready?
Keep your hands to yourself and don't tweet much.
Fair. That is the answer. No, the answer is nobody wants to get in trouble. And if you keep that in your mind, for the rest of your life. It's going to change every interaction you ever have. Nobody wants to get in trouble. It's just true. We talked about Hollywood for 2 hours or so. Every movie that's bad like that is because nobody wants to get in trouble. It's just like, well, look, I know this is a bad idea, but like, I think the studio wants me to do this, or like, look, we don't need Bill Murray in this movie, in the 28th Ghostbusters movie, but they might get mad at us if we don't. Like, I'm gonna get in trouble if this movie's bad because and everyone says, "Where's Bill Murray?" So I guess I gotta do it. But is there also 6 other scripts? Anyway, when you're on the phone with someone and like your phone bill is late and they're not helping you and customer service is not helpful, blah, blah, they don't hate you. They just don't want to get in trouble. The person you're talking to doesn't want to get in trouble. And if you just remember that and figure out how you can work with them so they won't get in trouble and you get what you want, you'll get what you want.
Yeah, it's like it's all the chain of screaming and mental anguish. It's like everyone's just trying to please the middle management above them.
Yes, isn't it? I mean, it's
because everybody just wants to go home, essentially.
But like, that's the day I realized that was the day that like a lot of things changed for me. I was like, okay. Yeah, nobody wants to get in trouble. I mean, everyone's a little more complex than that. Sure. But at the root of it, most of the problems in your life are because someone didn't want to get in trouble, and it might be you.
And to that point, it probably stems from childhood. Yeah,
absolutely.
All the same shit.
Absolutely.
Same shit.
My nightmares are still about like disappointing people who aren't even around anymore. It's like the silliest thing. I have car crash dreams at least twice a week, and it's never, oh no, I lease a vehicle and it is crashed now. My insurance will go up and I am out of money. It's my dad's going to kill me. Like, he doesn't care.
Dads are cool. Dads are so cool like that. Yeah.
That's still the nightmare. Like, oh no, my dad's gonna be so mad at me. Not true. Anywho, I don't know how long the show goes. Do we go another 6 hours?
Probably? I don't know.
What do you feel?
I'm out of topics. I think we can kind of start wrapping things up. Yeah.
Can we pet more animals?
We can pet more animals. Yeah.
Okay.
He just went over to his little toy chest to go poke around some things.
Oh, he's got a lot. He's got a lot of choices.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He subscribes to, for a while I was subscribed to BarkBox, and they would do themed toys. So like there's a couple like casino chips, and there was one where it was like a little takeout box, and it had little dumplings with faces on it, and everything was squeak toys. It was great.
Okay, so that we don't tell not show. That's going to be the end of the show. I'm going to set down my mic for a second. We're going to go through Giuseppe's toys, and then we're going to call it.
Sounds good.
Are these only Giuseppe's?
Yeah.
The cats don't get to play with them?
Cats don't give a shit about that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to put it up there. I don't want to hurt your couch. Okay.
That's fine.
Oh, Giuseppe's like, what are we doing?
It's like, are we playing? We're playing? That's fine. Yeah, totally fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got sushi.
This is an important segment.
This is a little sushi.
Very nice.
There's a couple other sushis.
Now, is that
too.
albacore? What's he into? That's tuna, clearly.
This is a salmon roll.
Okay.
This is a salmon roll. That's spicy tuna. And then this is a little sashimi. This is salmon. This is definitely salmon.
That's definitely salmon.
That's definitely salmon. Then he's got a little squirt gun.
Nice.
This is a...
It's a super soaker, right?
It's a super soaker.
Is it branded?
Slobber soaker. They always come up with some dumb name.
Nice. I always like the animal puns on the animal toys.
Carrier for some other toy. Then he has a little T-Rex.
Oh, is it crinkly?
It's crinkly, yeah.
Good ASMR.
It is ASMR.
We're gonna do this for the next 2 hours.
Chocolate covered strawberry. This is in the Valentine's Day box.
Oh, strawberries season.
This is a casino chip. Because there was one where it was all casino themed, and then this is, I talked about the one where it's like dumplings inside a Chinese thing. So this is a little dumpling.
Look at the dumpling.
Yeah.
This is your most apt viewer you've ever had.
Yeah, right.
Giuseppe's like, what are we doing, guys?
And then I got this, but this is an automated one where you charge it up and it moves around. And he's like, you're killing me. This is peak edging.
Like, I'm not content, Dad.
Yeah, here you go. Go get it.
Right out the window. That was disturbing. I can't believe you did that.
Sorry, here, you can go get a dump. There you go.
Thank you. This has been Giuseppe's Toys.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you all.
Tune in every week. It'll be the same segment every week.
This has been Jack Conway. You can find him on what?
I'm usually on most things on Instagram and such. It's Producer Jack, which is too long. But someone else took Producer Jack. Who is that guy? I'm gonna get him. Yeah.
Some asshole named John.
It's probably. Yeah. It's Producer Jack. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on. I'm not gonna be on Twitter, but you can find me on Instagram. Just follow my more talented wife. She
oh yeah, his wife is awesome.
It's Firefly Path is her company. She makes fantasy gowns. And you either
a lot of which you might have seen already in various things.
Yes, you definitely have.
You've seen her work probably.
Insanely talented. But I guess I can plug. I'm working. I've signed all the NDAs. Is that there's a company I used to work for that just came back called Crypt TV, and they make spooky stuff on YouTube. They were gone for a couple of years. They have new ownership, and they're trusting me to make a couple new shows. Might be able to direct Morgan on one. Yeah, that's like my bread and butter. I love stuff like that. So it's like shows talking about horror, maybe some scripted stuff. So yeah,
all fun junk.
nice. So yeah, I'll be tweeting about that or posting about that, and I'll bug Morgan to make sure he promotes it when he's on.
Absolutely. All right, thank you all. I'm going to stand up and go literally press the button because I forgot to program my foot pedal. But thank you all for watching. Appreciate you. Bye. With the fucking outro button. I have an outro button. No, I don't.